With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hello everybody and welcome to RaceSpotTV and welcome to Laguna Seca for the Precision Racing League GR86 series here from the west coast of the United States of America. It's great to be with you. The rises and falls of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on the menu here for these low power and high grip race cars that see another set of drivers head to the circuit after their opening round at Road Atlanta 1 week ago. Hello everybody and welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'm alongside Derek Watson here for the evening. We'll have LMP3 and GT4 racing a little bit later on, but first, Derek, it's the GR86 series with the low power, the low speeds, but great racing, hopefully, that we're going to see even at Laguna Seca, which traditionally is a hard track to pass at.
A very hard track to pass at, but a track we're all familiar with, whether it be through your early roots of sim racing, through watching it real life, or this historic corkscrew you're seeing right here. There's many reasons to know this track in a car that will be able to use all the track here tonight, Ewan.
It certainly will. Let's have a look at some of the other tracks we're going to on the GR86 schedule here this season, including Jerez next week, and then the Phoenix Raceway 2008 layout, which I've still yet to quite work out what that is. 2 trips to Monza. The junior layout will be especially an interesting one, but there's also at round 8 without the first chicane. That's going to be an exciting one. But there's some more traditional circuits that you maybe expect to see these race cars on, like Mid-Ohio, like Lime Rock Park as well, where these cars will be well suited because of the way that they handle really quite well. After the opening round at Road Atlanta, we've got Alexis Moyson at the top of the drivers' standings, as you can see, 3 points ahead of Greg Bell as he took the win and pole position, but Greg Bell took the fastest lap. It's Rafael Franco who finished third that day, ahead of Tyler Edwards and Andrew Sharp, who were also inside the top 5. Jeremy Snyder, Budley Chamberlain, Kevin Berkvist, Nathan Miller and James O'Brien were all inside the top 10. Those standings pretty much exactly a reflection of the 17 drivers who got to the finish of the opening round of the season at Road Atlanta. In the team standings, of course, this is also a reflection of how things got on. It's Bump After Victory who are also leading those team standings, so they're doing well so far. Alexis Moyson, who won the race last time out, is one of their drivers, as you might be able to expect. There are certain similarities and differences we can draw here, Derek, between Road Atlanta and Laguna Seca. I guess the technical nature of both of them will suit these cars quite well.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the similarities between the track, Ewan, what comes to mind for me instantly is the elevation in both those tracks and how different it is. Right here, we're heading towards the top of the corkscrew. This, of course, is the biggest change in elevation, as we're going to come uphill again here before making those classic corners. And I think that when you compare these two tracks for me, that's what comes to mind is elevation changes. That's hard for a driver to deal with in a momentum-based car sometimes.
It certainly is. Let's have a look at the sponsors then who make this broadcast possible, starting with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. This broadcast also brought to you by Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. This broadcast also brought to you by the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake or sequential shifter, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. And finally, this broadcast also brought to you by Moradness. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Big thanks to all those guys who make these broadcasts possible here on RaceSpotTV from Sunday night through to Thursday night, where we have 5 nights of consecutive PRL racing action that started out the week with NASCAR Cup Series racing from Nashville as the real-life race was going on, which was a bizarre phenomenon. We don't usually have that. We usually go racing immediately after the real-life race finishes, but we were racing simultaneously last night, and I hope you were tuned in for that. I hope you stay with us tonight as well, because we've got a lot of racing coming your way. 35 minutes of the GR86s, followed by 40 minutes of the LMP3s and GT4s, and they are at Long Beach. That is going to be a hell of a show coming up in about an hour's time, so make sure you stay with us for that. But we have just over 9 minutes remaining in the GR86 qualifying session right now, and it's Alexis Moisan who's currently leading this session, really taking off from where he left off at Road Atlanta, which is exactly what you want to do as a race winner.
That's what you want to do. You want to start with strong momentum, really, to help carry you through. Gives you a positive boost here, especially at tracks that feel similar here. Of course, next week we get that week off before heading over to Jerez. So you want to make a strong start here in these first 2 weeks, Ewan.
You certainly do. Jerez, I think, is going to be another circuit that these cars will handle well around, but I just wonder whether it will look very big compared to these rather small cars. You see, even around a short circuit like this one, it's a 1:36 lap time, 1:36.2 for Alexis Moisan. Let's go on board with him though here for the moment as we plunge downhill in towards the Andretti hairpin, turn number 2 as it's named, and we'll have a lap on board here with one of these GR86s, and you'll really get a sense for the amount of time you've really got to think about these corners, because you do have a long approach to all of them. But these cars do handle well. When it's going well anyway, these cars will feel like they're stuck to the road, but things can go wrong fairly easily and fairly quickly in these as well.
Yeah, it's still a fairly new car to the service, Ewan, maybe less than a year old still as of this point, and a car we're all still learning the nuances of at times. It's very much a momentum-based car, however. You really want to drive this almost like you drive a go-kart in real life. You don't want to be on the brakes too hard. You want to ride the corners, ride these curbs, because getting these things up to speed is a real challenge. Oh
dear. All over the sand.
I said the curbs.
Maybe not all the way over the curbs on the outside. We do see this quite a lot though at Laguna Seca. Not so much in real life, but in some simulators, not especially so much in iRacing actually, because of the off-track system. It kind of prevents people from doing this too much, but you see a lot of dipping of wheels into the sand a little bit, because you can somewhat get away with it on occasion. But also you can get yourself into trouble as well. It's one of those high commitment corners though, and you really don't get room for error, especially around that portion of the racetrack. You don't get room for error anywhere actually.
Yeah, maybe this corner right here is the only one you really get room for error, in that last corner before you come back to the start-finish line. Of course, this track is historic and famous. We're going to watch Alexis Morgan make their way around the track here. Right now, leading the grid here with about 6.5 minutes left here to go. Classic turn 1 and turn 2 here. Yeah, this is a great track. Of course, IndyCar's hosted races here. You know, I remember my first experience, Ewan, being Gran Turismo was my first time ever seeing this track. Back in the original, or maybe the second Gran Turismo. Boy, I hated that corkscrew.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. I actually can't remember my first experience driving this circuit, if I'm honest with you, but I did play Gran Turismo 2, so if it was on that, then I would have done. I just don't remember it very well. So I can't detail my first experience there. It is the iconic corner, though, but I think it takes away a little bit from what Laguna Seca actually is here. I mean, it's great aesthetically, the corkscrew. There's nothing else like it in motorsport, and I'm not trying to say that there is, but there's so many more challenging corners around here at Laguna Seca that make it so difficult. Even in the final sector, this long downhill left-hander at the Rainy Curve, in my opinion, is a really difficult one. And then you've got another medium-speed turn at turn 10, the penultimate corner, and then you've got to break into the hairpin at turn 11 as well. It's made up of more than just the corkscrew.
It really is. That's what we always talk about as a corkscrew, but you're right. The track as a whole is very challenging. It's a difficult track. And the one thing it has for it that makes it easy, quote-unquote, is the long straightaways. You can set up a draft and maybe get around someone, but you better have it lined up and ready to go and be back on your point before those corners come around.
Certainly do. That's another trip across the line for Jared Farrowell, only just over a tenth of a second or so behind Andrew Sharp, who's up in fourth place. This is Rafael Franco in the gradient, yellow, orange and pink, and then back to orange and yellow again. Very nice livery, I've got to say. We won't have any problem picking him out over the course of the season. He'll come towards the line now, and he will go up the order slightly. Well, no, he actually won't. He will improve on his lap time, though. Still remains 6th position after a podium last week. Looking for another one here, but it's fair to say that this could be a very, very different race to what we saw 1 week ago. Jeremy Schneider is another bump drafter victory driver. He's alongside Alexis Moisan. They're currently leading the team's championship standings, and that will be remaining 3rd for Schneider. They're all getting a little bit closer to one another, but we actually haven't had any positional changes really in the last 5 minutes. Michael Lang is going to try and cement his 2nd place as somebody spins into the wall there at the final corner. Don't know what that was all about, but Michael Lang will come towards the line now, and he can't quite improve. They're still searching for those temps to catch Alexis Moisan, who still leads.
Yeah, something about this open qualifying I wanted to talk about for a second, Ewan. Last time we were on these two cars, Francis Castillo was actually behind the car that he's now leading. And I thought, boy, that's a smart move in this open qualifying, pulling out a little bit of that drag, maybe improving the time a little bit. And in a car like the GR86, every oomph of a second matters. Every little tick of a second matters. Oomph is a... that's an American timing reference, I think, by the way. Just want to point that out. But no, I thought it was a cool move by Francis to pull that off.
We'd use a bit of oomph in the UK
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
But maybe if we've got people not watching from either of those countries, maybe they'd be a bit lost. But yeah, I understand what you meant there. That was yeah, I grasped that without many major problems, thankfully. Francis Castillo Romeo makes his way to the line now, and he's not going to jump up the order any with that lap time. Not quite as quick as his previous best, but it's only about 0.5 of a second away. That stands him in a pretty good way for the race in just under 3 minutes time. Hello to everybody watching on in the YouTube chat. Bit of support for well, Matt Scherf is in the YouTube chat again. He watches a lot of PRL racing, see him around quite a lot, saying let's go Patrick Reed, who's in 12th position at the moment, by the way, about 3 seconds or so off of the best time in this session. As Greg Bell actually just jumps up into the top 10. That's an improvement for Michael Lang as well. He'll dip just below 4 tenths from Alexis Moisan, but once again won't get very close. Even at Road Atlanta with the long back straight, Moisan was able to break the slipstream there, and you get the feeling that with the extra amount of speed that he has over Michael Lang, he'll be able to get away pretty comfortably, pretty cleanly at the front of this field in the beginning of this race as well.
Yeah, you want to think that no one really is improving on their times yet. And at this point, with a minute and 50 seconds left on the clock, Ewan, if someone's not out doing a lap right now, they're not going to get one in. So I think what we see here, this is James here. Whoa, a little bit of dirt there. That's going to be an off track and it's going to kill that run, I'm pretty sure. I'd imagine he's just going to do this for fun now because there's no way. Those are beautiful tires, by the way. There's no way that will let that lap time count, I don't think.
You wouldn't imagine so. Greg Bell is the only driver who I've seen make an improvement in the recent past. He jumped up to 9th on that previous lap, but it doesn't really, as you just said, it doesn't look like we're really seeing those major improvements towards the end, because 20 minutes is quite a long session after all, and these drivers will reach somewhat of a limit at some point. Bell is only a couple of tenths away from Francis Castillo Romeo at the moment, so he'll do well to get onto row 4, and he stays where he is with that improvement there. He will remain 9th, about 5 tenths away from Romero. So that will be Bell's session pretty much over, because 45 seconds remaining. And it'll be Rafael Franco's session over as well. With this amount of time remaining, there really won't be very many drivers left to come across the line here in the 30 seconds we have left.
No, probably not. This is a bigger track here. I mean, it's a minute, 30 some for our leader. So we see a car parked over there. I'm hoping that's just giving up right there. Yeah, Rafael Franco has his beautiful paint scheme, Ewan. As you said, that'll be easy to pick out all season long. Just kind of reminds you of like a nighttime Miami kind of flair to it, doesn't it?
It's fantastic. Great news for us, I've got to say, because we like a brightly coloured livery, unless they're all bright, and then it doesn't make a difference. But picking one out in a field of normally dark race cars is absolutely fantastic. Rafael Franco will be Starting from row 3, the outside in P6. He was 3rd at Road Atlanta. And he'll be looking to rectify, that's the wrong word. Replicate, that podium that he managed to get 1 week ago. Still a couple of minutes left to finish lap times. It does seem that they are able to carry on past the checker flag. I don't remember that being a thing last week, but I could be forgetting also. Yeah, apparently it was a thing last week and I just forgot about it, so that's fine. Graham Woodman will be one of those drivers who will be able to complete his lap here. He is round a tenth and a half behind Rafael Franco, who he'd need to jump over here in this session. He's the highest placed driver actually still out on the racetrack at the moment. He goes over the line and it will be an improvement, I think. Is it enough though? I don't think quite. No, it will be 7th place. He moves a little bit closer, but can't quite do enough to overtake. Romeo's still out there, and that is going to be it for your session here at Laguna Seca. That is the qualifying order set for the 35-minute race, the opening of 2 races here this evening. More Precision Racing League action here in RaceSpotTV. Welcome one and all. Good to have you with us. I hope you'll enjoy the coverage here this evening, as we've got 17 drivers on the grid, 15 of which have just set a qualifying time, as you've just seen. And now we'll get the starting grid up very soon and get this race underway as well once we advance through this session and get towards the race. But nerves are going to start to build now. It's going to be a tight run down towards turn 1, as it always is at this circuit.
Yeah, I was thinking that in my head, Ewan. It's going to be a tight race down to turn 1, and that's why qualifying can be so important. In a momentum-based car like a GR86, if there is calamity in the first corner, you might be able to check up and avoid it, but the odds you'll ever catch the field again in a race like this is just a time race. That's pretty much improbable. So that's why qualifying is so important here with these cars. So I'm excited for turn 1. I think we're going to be 3 wide before we're done with turn 1, Ewan.
I think so. You also get that little bit of extra space, don't you, on the pit exit as well, that you can use. Well, you're not really meant to, but you do end up there, especially on lap 1. So we could well see that in towards turn 2. Let's see how they'll start going into it, though. It'll be Alexis Moysen with that qualifying pole alongside Michael Lang. Jeremy Snyder will be right behind his bumped after victory teammate, with Fredericksburg Friends' Andrew Sharp in the 4th place. Jared Farrow and Rafael Franco will share row 3 behind them. Graham Wilburn and Francis Castillo Romeo will be on the row behind them, with Greg Bell and Louis Barraza making up the rest of the top 10. James Secret Jr. and Colin Nagelberg will be on row 6. Patrick Reed and Nathan Miller just behind them, with Edward Peltz 15th. And I can tell you, Richard Bodrick and Matthew Aloka are in the session. Unclear as to whether they're going to take the start in 16th and 17th behind them, as they didn't set qualifying times, so it's not immediately clear to us whether they will be taking up this starting grid or not in a few moments' time. 35 minutes though, it's going to include a pit stop here as well. It's going to feel like a relatively long race for these cars.
It is going to feel like a relatively long race, because of the size of the track and the pace of the cars. So it's going to feel like forever, especially if you have a hard start here. It'll feel like forever getting around this place, but lots of chances to make passes here, lots of chances to cleanly get around and away from drivers. So we'll see what happens.
Lots of support down in the chat for Graham Wilburn, as I've been seeing. Ian Carpenter, Matthew Howe, both shouting their support. There's the track temperature, by the way, 119 Fahrenheit. Now, I'm English, but that's hot. I know
that's
that much.
Hot, yeah.
Even I know that's hot. So, I don't suppose you'd expect anything less from Laguna Seca, to be fair, but even so, that is warm, and we'll get into that a little bit more over the course of the formation lap, which just pulls away now. It does look like we'll be getting 15 drivers then, instead of the 17, and unclear as to whether Greg Bell has actually taken the start here as well. Oh, yes, he has. My time's going just playing tricks on me for a short moment in time there, but 119 Fahrenheit there is going to be something to contend with. They're not going to have to change tyres throughout this race, but is something to note, at least, over the course of this race.
Yeah, we'll help our international friends. Oh, we got a car off there in that corner. I was going to say, to help our international friends, that's about 47.8 degrees Celsius, Ewan, is what we're looking at for a track temp here.
Yeah, very, very warm indeed. that helps everybody but Americans. But we've had both now, so we can all understand what's going on. Yeah, 48, close to 49 Celsius. We'll call it 49 to make it more dramatic. But at that point, you can just about go 50, can't you? Anyway, yeah, it's very, very warm. But as I mentioned, these cars shouldn't be coming into the pit lane at any point. This is the earliest we've ever had a replay in a RaceSpotTV broadcasted race, I think. And it's a spin on the formation lap for Michael Lang, who'll be starting from second place. And he'll be very glad that there is a full formation lap here, because if that was off the main start, he'd be last by now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's got a little too eager, or wasn't paying attention, or maybe he's going to warm up the tires. I don't know, Ewan, what happened there, but he'll get back around and be ready to go here, and hoping not to repeat that in the actual turn number 1.
Yeah, hopefully, because it could turn quite nasty for not only him but everyone if he does that again. But let's hope for a nice start here at the very least. It's Precision Racing League action from Laguna Seca, the GR86 series getting ready for its second round of the third season in 2023. The MX-5s are gone from this series now. It's just down to these new cars on iRacing that everyone is still getting that little bit more familiar with. But so far, Alexis Moisan has shown himself to be most familiar of everyone. He'll go immediately out of turn 11 and will be racing on the west coast of the USA. It's a good start from Moisan and Michael Lang as well, who tucks into the inside line, not allowing Jeremy Snyder to go round the outside. We're into turn 1. Everybody looking to the inside and the outside. Snyder goes down the inside of Michael Lang in towards the Andretti hairpin. Lang forced out into the stand on the outside line. They'll be side by side into turn 3, and Michael Lang will hold on to second place to split the teammates on the start.
Well, I was wrong, Ewan. We were not 3 wide in that first corner. I'm kind of surprised. We saw a great jump there by the leader, and second place instantly tucked in, did not want to be left out on that draft. And he had a much better turn 1, Michael Lang did, than he did on that formation lap.
Certainly did. It's single file inside the top 6 or so, but they're side by side as Greg Bell tries to get past Francis Castillo-Romeo, heading towards the fearsome turn 6 before the Rahal straight. It's a good pass from Greg Bell, who's already made 2 places on this opening lap. Jeremy Snyder's going for moves as well. He's made one into towards the corkscrew. It must have been a mistake from Michael Lang, because there was barely any contest by the time they got to the braking zone.
Yeah, no contest at all. That was a very fast pass for cars of this speed to have happen here. And let's get that DuPont-themed car in 4th place. That's Andrew Sharp's now going to try to run him down. And we'll see what happens here in turn number 1. This will be our nice long straight with that big braking point when we get there.
Yeah, it's a really important final turn that completes the first lap of this race. Alexis Moisan leads the way ahead of Snyder, Lang, Sharp, Farrell, Franco. And then a bit of a gap to Greg Bell and Francis Castillo-Romeo, who are fighting for 7th place at the moment. It's down the inside for Rafael Franco, though, on Jared Farrell, and that is 5th place for the brightly coloured number 36. And Franco is already beginning his march up towards the front of the field.
Yeah, Franco's a very talented driver, so I'm not surprised to see a move like that. A little bit of dirt there we caught on the outside of that corner, right before the 3 board. You talked about drivers wanting to use that little bit of dirt, sand, to maybe find more grip. But as we know, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes there's grip out there, and sometimes it's just like cold as ice out there. It's hard to tell which one you're going to get. Oh, that's too much dirt, though.
Well, yeah, that's certainly too much. Oh, and Franco! Oh, he's gone! He's hit by Farrell, and they're all going around. He spears back onto the circuit. Farrell comes across as well, and that's the end of Rafael Franco for this race by the looks of things. It's chaos in the midfield as well, as James Secret Jr. has been able to gain positions as a result. Jared Farrell falls outside the top 10. That was a big mess in the end. We talked about not using the sand too much, not overusing it, because that's exactly what can happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's almost on time when we talked about it, because we just saw drivers getting out too far to the right on that corner and on that straightaway, and not able to control the car, getting it back on track.
Well, he nearly saved it, Franco, but from the looks of that angle there, we might have to get another one, but I think Jared Farrell just tagged him as Franco was trying to get back sorted as James Secret Jr. goes around from inside the top 10. Oh, no! Oh, no, he's rejoined. right into the path of Jared Farrowell. Edward Peltz forced to slow down as well, and unfortunately that wasn't the best rejoin down at the final corner.
No, that's not the rejoin you want to make. You want to look at your relative screen. You want to see where drivers are. This will be the replay of the first wreck we saw. There's Michael Lang up front. Oh, and I think Francisco got loose by himself, actually.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know about you, but I think we were riding on board there with Jared Farrowell, by the way, and that was Rafael Franco getting loose in front of us. But don't you think that Farrowell could have, you know, he saw that there was a slide going on for Franco there. Admittedly, we're looking at it with hindsight now, but surely he couldn't have just lifted off that little bit to avoid that contact there?
You can lift off there a little bit, and, you know, maybe but the protection you have is with the angle of that car where he was headed. You would think he's headed right off to the other side of the track, and in a car like this, you don't want to lift if you can help it. Yeah, see that angle right there. I, as a driver, I would have thought he was headed right to the other side. You know, I understand your point about lifting, but in a car based on momentum, any lifting is really bad. But obviously, that's the end result. Maybe it's worse than just lifting.
Yeah, I mean, if he'd have at least reacted to what he'd seen in front of him a little bit sooner, then maybe he would have lost a place, but he wouldn't be down outside the top 10 right now, which is where Farrowell finds himself. And maybe Franco would have saved, well, to be fair, Franco might have been heading for the wall anyway, actually. He looked a bit out of control, but even so, Farrowell certainly wouldn't have been down in 11th. But anyway, he's continuing on. Patrick Reed still ahead of Nathan Miller here. This is a battle for 9th place, and they were exchanging positions a little bit earlier. Edward Peltz, I think, has had a problem in the final sector as well, because Louis Barraza has gotten in front of him for 12th. Reed is going to have to be on the defensive here, though, unless Nathan Miller wants to move. There's a little bit of damage to the front end of that aqua blue Toyota, as you can see. You see the grille kind of crumpled a little bit in a couple of areas, but it doesn't seem to be hampering him too much. I can't actually think where Miller would have picked that up. I don't remember seeing him in any contact.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Maybe he just got in the back of someone during a checkup for one of those wrecks. But, you know, what's interesting, Ewan, is a very calm lap 1, and then sort of chaos broke out. We always think of lap 1 being a chaotic lap in most motorsports. These guys had it all put together for lap 1. Then I think they got brave. Then I think they put the elbows out, and the race really started after lap 1 here, I guess.
Guess so. It certainly did kick off after the opening lap of this race. Alexis Moisan also seemed to be over lap philosophy as well. It was almost as if he was treating the first lap as a formation lap, and now he's really gone nearly 3 seconds ahead of Jeremy Schneider, and he's looking for a clean sweep. Is Alexis Moisan. He got the pole position and the win last time, but not the fastest lap. That went to Greg Bell. He'll be looking for all 3 to give him all of the points here today. Moisan will go over the line here at the end of another lap. We'll need to make sure that he doesn't have any off tracks, which has been the problem for some in this race so far. And on this most recent lap, it's a 36.4, which is not quite the fastest lap of the race, but he does currently hold that fastest lap at the moment, so that's good news. And good news for Jared Farrowell as well here, because he's recovering quite well. He's already caught up to this battle for 9th place, and surely he'll be able to at least challenge Nathan Miller and Patrick Reed very soon.
Well, I'm surprised by how well he's doing. I mean, I was convinced he would have harder contact with James Secret than he did, but his car seems okay. There's Secret coming out of pit road, by the way.
Of irony there, the two of them back together again almost. Farrell didn't really have anywhere to go though at the final corner. Unfortunately, it's a rejoining right in the path of him, and might find himself in a bit of trouble for that indeed. Andrew Sharp is just in front of Michael Lang here for 3rd place. This will be a bit of a disappointment to Michael Lang, really, having qualified 2nd, but in the early goings of this race found himself in the sand fairly often and has found himself behind Sharp. These two can't separate each other, separate themselves either. Greg Bell and Francis Castillo Romeo continue to battle for 5th place as well. And at the moment, Greg Bell has got the measure of Romero. He's gotten in front of Romero on lap 2, I think it was, and he's stayed in front ever since.
Yeah, if we can go back to Michael Lang for a second, though, and I'm going to talk about how surprised I am that he is still up in P4. He was the first driver to get in the dirt, and really the first driver to sort of start that chaos, if you will. But he held onto that car really well. We were so busy looking at the wreck that actually happened that I think we sort of forgot how amazing his save was. Now he's going to try to maybe get a run here on Sharp through the corner and at least close that gap, but I'm surprised he's still up there. I would have thought after hitting that dirt when they were all still in line together, he'd have been 7th, 8th, 9th, but here he still is in P4.
Our attention was very much drawn away because of what was going on behind, but we'll give it its airtime now. He smacks the curb, and that's what sends him out wide, really wide through turn 5. He ended up catching it, but then our eyes were drawn behind, of course, as Franco and Farrell made that bit of contact. But that's how Sharp got through, and that's how they've found themselves in this situation. Sharp and Lang with the 24 in front of the 14. They're not that far behind Jeremy Schneider either, so while it looks like the teammates are 1 and 2 and running away with this race, Lang and Sharp will still have their eyes set, I think, on Schneider and maybe trying to beat him in this race as Lang goes to the inside, but there's no move made at the corkscrew.
No, in fact, as I watched that replay again, Ewan, what stood out to me is that Lang was actually the biggest beneficiary of that wreck behind him. Had that wreck not happened, I think he would have fallen back a bunch more, but because that wreck happened, that's probably what kept him in P4.
Yeah, possibly. It certainly kept them secure in their places now. It's created a big gap behind as Greg Bell and Romero had to slow down as a result of what was going on in front of them. They allowed a little bit of a gap to open, and now that gap has become a real difficult one to close. Jared Farrell has got through on Nathan Miller, by the way, and he's back inside the top 10 again, and he's now on the back of Patrick Reed for 9th as Alexis Moisan there sets a new fastest lap of the race. It's a 36.3, and he continues to pull away from the rest of the field. Now 4.5 seconds, nearly 5 seconds in the lead.
Yeah, doing a great job. As you see, that lead is increasing there on the left side of your screen on the race spot ticker. As you said, almost 5 seconds. And I don't know that anything's going to help them, but if it is, it's going to be Sharp and Lang catching up to Schneider and seeing if on the straightaways if they can slowly pick at that time with a 3-car draft. I'm not sure it will work, but I think that's the only shot they have.
Yeah, let's see. It's certainly going to be a different race to what we saw at Road Atlanta, because the slipstream around there is lots more beneficial. Oh, that was a big wiggle as well for Lang. If anything, you want to go either really a lot on the dirt, all 4 wheels, or at least more than half of the car, or you want to go not at all. When you're just dipping half of one of your tyres on there, you can really get grabbed in and spun around very easily there at turn 6. Michael Lang did well to save that from happening as well. You can see it's opened a bit of a gap, and Andrew Sharp has also turned it on a bit here in this race, because he's close to within a second of Jeremy Schneider for the first time in a while, and he's not quite there just yet, but we could have a 3-car battle for second place here. There was a point where Schneider looked like he was getting away. That's not going to be the case, as we have a replay of Jared Farrell here making his way round the, well, was going to be around the outside. It's up the inside, I think, of Patrick Reed, I think that was. And Farrell is into 9th place, not very far away from Colin Nagelberg either in that battle for 8th place. But he's then got a quarter of a minute up to 7th, which is going to be a problem for Farrell to close.
That was a nice pass where he set it up. He made it happen. He saw it coming. He wanted it. He was patient. That was a long-forming pass that was successful. There's another pass, by the way. Here we go.
Let's see. It's Louis Barraza making his way down the inside of Nathan Miller there. Not sure how Miller's found himself so far away from those he was battling with earlier on, but nothing unusual about that last lap, so not entirely sure what's gone on for Miller, but he's down to 12th now. He's got a comfortable margin over Edward Peltz, though. James Segreet Jr., by the way, as we saw earlier on, has re-emerged from the pit lane and will at least attempt to score points here. I'm not sure Rafael Franco is going to be able to here as a result of the damage, although he hasn't left the session yet, so he maybe does still have that little bit of hope. As it's not just about the battle for second place, it's about the battle for 5th as well, because there's a 3-car battle here as well. As Jared Farrell gets through on Nagelberg. This is what happened to Nathan Miller at turn 6.
Oh. Save it. He is going to save it. Nice job.
Yeah, saves it, and it could have been a lot worse for him, couldn't it, as Graham Wilburn comes into the pit lane at the moment as well. So that's from 7th place, and it leaves Bell and Romero to their own devices. But we're getting towards the midpoint in the race now. The pit stops will be in full swing. Yeah,
they will be in full swing, and that strategy of what do you do and when do you do it is important. Sometimes you want to maybe pit before the guy in front of you so that you have clean air when you come out of the pit road. So we'll wait and see what happens here. These two guys are using a nice little draft right here.
And Farrell does indeed stay in front of Nagelberg there in 7th place. But yeah, these two fighting for 5th at the moment. Thought Greg Bell would get away actually with the urgency he started this race with. And how quickly on lap 1 he got through on his rival here. But now been drawn into a longer fight, which does happen from time to time in these cars. Very slow, somewhat like the Mazdas we were sharing the racetrack with in this series last season. Of course, also very different as well. Up towards the corkscrew, late on the brakes from Bell, and you can just see the slight more commitment from him as well, but that was probably an off track as he headed down the hill, and it's a better line from Romero as well through the rainy curve, not maximising the exit enough there, Bell, and now he'll have to slow down, I think for a slowdown there, Greg Bell, although I can't be sure. Francis Castillo Romeo, excuse me, will make his way up to 5th place, and well, that was a silly mistake from Greg Bell, and there's another one at the final corner.
That was a big one right there. So yeah, nice battle these guys were having. The slowdown and then the off track there will sort of shuffle up this battle a little bit here, but 20 minutes left to go. I'm surprised more drivers have not come down pit road here. We're now past the halfway point of the race, or yeah, we're past it here at 35 minutes. So this is of course Jeremy Schneider that we're riding here with. He's in P2. Andrew Sharp has closed up that gap, I think, to a decent level, but the problem is that gap ahead of them now is up to 7 seconds, Ewan.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be seeing the leader again, Alexis Moisan, in this race for the 2nd week in a row, indeed. Yeah, it's one of those races where we do see pit stops, of course, but because it's not really down to tyres, we generally see them running these tanks dry and running for as long as they possibly can in these races. And so that's what I think we'll see here between the leaders, especially, unless they feel they're being held up a little bit. Andrew Sharp may well feel that way at the moment behind Jeremy Schneider. Down the corkscrew again, in towards the final sector of the track. And just over a second behind is Michael Lang, who's struggling to stay involved right now into the penultimate corner. A little bit of an apex mixed there by Sharp. He'll lose a 10th or 2 and make their way into the final corner and over the line all over again. Once again, so has been the story of this race so far. Andrew Sharp is just not close enough to make a move here for 2nd place.
Now, what I think could be the story here, by the way, Ewan, that we don't talk about a lot, I feel like, with these cars maybe being only a couple seconds apart between the 3 of them, who's better at pit road entrance, who's better on pit road, and who's better at their exit. There's a lot of time to be gained based upon your comfort in getting on and off of pit road, and that could shuffle these 3 pretty drastically. We could see Lang go from 4th to 2nd if he has a better pit road run than Schneider or Sharp.
Well, we absolutely could, and let's not forget what these pit entry and exits are like at Laguna Seca as well. On the way in, it's a really, really tight hairpin because it's on the inside of the final corner. By laws of geography and physics, it's got to be tighter than the actual corner itself, and turn 11 is a tight corner in its own right, and when you've got a narrow pit lane and you're trying to turn yourself around almost 180 degrees, it's very, very difficult. And then you turn yourself 180 degrees again down at turn 2 because the Andretti hairpin is where you'll be, but you'll be on the inside on a very narrow pit exit. It's a very narrow strip of tarmac that you can find yourself very easily getting yourself into the sand, excuse me, and then you won't have any grip at all. So it's a very, very difficult pit entry and exit, and that's where this battle at the very least may well be won and lost.
Yeah, and on top of that being a very narrow pit exit, as you talked about, Ewan, it's also very, very narrow as far as where the merge line is concerned. It is really easy, maybe one of the easiest tracks on the circuit, in my opinion, to violate that merge line here at Laguna Seca.
It's well, we're about to get a view of it, and there's someone coming out the pit lane. Hopefully they'll be doing slow enough speed to not violate that rule, but yeah, it can be a problem down there, especially when you're trying to maximise things. 4-car battle for 9th place at the moment, by the way. Graham Woodman has made a pit stop, and he's come out into this. Nathan Miller got down the inside of Colin Nagelberg there, and he's through into the top 10, but how long is it going to last? Because Graham Woolman is coming through in him right now. Jared Farrowell's going to come out behind all of them all over again, which could be a problem, but the 53 is down the inside in towards the Andretti hairpin, and this should be an easy move for the early stopper in this race. This is a problem though, when you do stop early, you generally find yourself in a lot of traffic like this.
Yeah, a lot of traffic like this, and that was only emphasized by the fact you had that car pitting out, who really kind of became like a rolling pick or a rolling chicane for the cars trying to get around him. In fact, I thought the first car in this group here did a great job at getting around him and sort of creating a gap that didn't exist before using that car as a way to break momentum.
Have a little look at a replay for Colin Nagelberg here towards turn 6.
Oh.
A little bit wide and a good save in the end. That could have been a lot worse.
You know, what happens as a driver there, Ewan, when that happens to you is a lot of things, depending upon your rig and your setup. There's so much loss of sensation that happens when that car gets to that kind of that sideways move like it happened right there. Your wheel and the force feedback sort of lets loose, and you like all the weights come out. We'll come back to that thought in a second. Andrew Sharp's on pit road here, Ewan.
Yeah, the battle for second is very much alive now with a quarter of an hour to go. Andrew Sharp down pit lane on the middle of that 3-car fight, of course. Everyone will stay out here by the looks of things. Time for Greg Wilburn to make a move into turn 2 on Louis Barraza, you'd imagine. Oh, it looks like the 77 is going to put up a bit of a fight. It's not easy going. He's looked in the slipstream. He should be able to gain enough now and go for this, but he'll be praying that Barraza doesn't defend, and he doesn't in the end. Wilburn will be down the inside, although not late enough on the brakes, in fact, into turn 2. He will end up staying behind, and luckily for Andrew Sharp, by the way, he's come out with 17.5 seconds to the next car in front of him, so that will really help.
Yeah, that definitely will help. And I was thinking about that move that Sharp made and how he pitted before the two competitors he's racing against. Maybe he felt as though, you know, getting away from them and having to race his own line was better than, you know, continuing to fight with those guys. There's a lot of strategy involved in when you pit in a race like this, but we're coming out of the last minutes here of someone wanting to pit. So I'd be surprised, not surprised, probably, to see everyone coming down probably the next 2 to 3 laps at the most.
Yeah, it's probably going to be quite soon. Here comes Wilburn down the inside. It's side by side through turn 6, and everyone's going to run out of space there. Louis Barraza, the one who has to take the trip through the sand, and that's 8th place for Wilburn. Nathan Miller will try and take advantage as well. That's a move down the inside of the corkscrew. Brave from the driver of the Aqua Blue number 6, and he's up to 9th place as well, taking advantage of the situation in front of him.
That's definitely the most aggressive move we've seen the whole race, in my opinion, Ewan. Setting up that turn right there before the corkscrew and just sort of committing and saying, here I am, I'm just going to go for it.
Absolutely fantastic. Oh, and doing the same is Louis Barraza into the final corner. Slightly less marks for execution there, but a good effort. And now Colin Nagelberg will come through as well. It's side by side over the line between these two. Barely half a tenth of a second separating them as they cross the line. They bump shoulders slightly. I think Nagelberg decided that he didn't want any part of that as soon as contact was involved.
And that's crazy to think you're all the way back here and somehow you're still making contact. It just shows you the aggression level in this league where every point matters, where even back here for, you know, 10th, 11th, 12th, whatever, we're still going to race hard.
It's the battle for second place. Jeremy Schneider versus Michael Lang as we head towards the final third of this race now. Into the final sector. We've got to be close to pit stops now. Yeah, I think the race leader is in fact, at the moment. No, not a lie. But, oh, is in his second place. Jeremy Schneider's in. So Alexis Moisan does stay out, but his teammate doesn't. Schneider's into the pit lane. Michael Lang will stay out, but this is the first chance to see where Andrew Sharp is going to be in relation to the driver he was battling only 3 minutes ago. Let's see then. Andrew Sharp into the final sector of this racetrack. He has made a stop, as you can see on the left-hand side. The one next to each name indicates that they, or how many pit stops they've made, if it's more than one in the case of Dempsey Creek Jr. But here we go. Schneider already rolling. He should be coming out of the lane soon, but there goes Sharp. He's got a longer way round turn 2, of course, but I don't think it's going to be enough for Schneider to hold on to this place. You can see how tentative he's going to be through this very narrow pit exit as well. Andrew Sharp is miles in front there. He should be in second place by the time this pit stop phase ends.
Well, and since we're not going to change tires here, Ewan, that basically means that, in theory, Sharp needed to take less gas to get to the end. But I mean, mathematically, it should all work out, but everyone kind of has their own way of making that math work. If, well, maybe he took less gas, or he needed more gas, or whatever. But maybe it just shows me that Sharp was more comfortable on pit road and had a better pit road entrance. But leader now is on pit road. We're going to take a look at that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a case of how much fuel do you need, but also how much are you willing to put in. Oh, that's big commitment from Michael Lang on the way in, or is that Moisan? Sorry, in the lead of the race. That was a replay of the race leader. Excuse me. Apologies. Michael Lang is into the pit lane as well. Romero and Bell are still to come into the pit lane as well, as you can see on the left-hand side. There is Romero and there's Bell as well. They'll be continuing on for one more lap, so they're going to need the least fuel out of everybody you would expect if things all work out as evens. 10.6 seconds down on the lane, by the way, for Moisan. That's absolutely normal from him, even if it is a bit longer than Andrew Sharp. But it's not anywhere near as long as Michael Lang, who's only spent 7.7 seconds stopped in his box. He's already left pit lane, and he'll have a tentative run through turn 2, but he should be in second place when this pit stop phase figures itself out. Here we go. It's going to be Lang into second by quite some distance in the end. What a pit strategy that is from him, but does he have enough fuel to get to the end of this race?
Yeah, you got to wonder how he got that big gap right there. I mean, we saw the leader make that big, run in the pit road. Maybe he was brave enough to do it. I didn't see it live, but I'm with you. I bet he took a little less gas, and every oomph of a second, I'll say it again, sorry, every tenth of a second on pit road, can mean a big gap on the tracks. I mean, that's what happened. But now we have some drama here for the last 9 minutes, Ewan.
Well, do we have enough time in this race for Andrew Sharp to make a catch here and try and make a move as well? We know that Michael Lang has made 1 or 2 mistakes so far in this race, but he can't afford any more now. He wants to hold on to second. Of course, they are fourth and fifth for now, but it's because Romero and Bell haven't come in from the lead of the race. That's James Secret Jr., who's one of the lap cars in the way of Lang at the moment. Lang will get through as the 2 leaders, 1 and 2, come into the pit lane. Those 2 should be out behind Jeremy Schneider in the 67, who should be 4th by the end of this. But it's Alexis Moisan who takes the lead again. There he is. That's a lap car making its way out of the pit lane, so no need to worry about him. And no need to worry about anyone, really, for Alexis Moisan at the moment. Through go the 3 we've been talking about so often in this battle for second, and then it will be Romero and Bell who will also be fighting for 5th place between themselves. So there will be 1 or 2 positions to settle before the end of this race. Let's have a look at Louis Barraza in towards the corkscrew on a replay, and that's just a case of getting things slightly wrong and into the wall. Oh, he might have avoided the wall actually, but certainly got things wrong. Oh dear, Kenan Nagelberg also, as he was side by side with him, also got things wrong, and Nagelberg hadn't made a stop yet. Now he has done. But yeah, that was a bit of a moment of madness for the both of them, which saw them both off the road down there at the final sector.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy to see. I mean, the corkscrew, incident, that's understandable because a lot of times drivers will miss your mark. They always tell you when you're learning to track you and that you want to aim for the tree. And that's how you make that line. But if you don't do that, you'll end up exactly where he did. The more, I don't want to say suspicious, but the more crazy one to me was the driver who spun it, obviously trying to get on pit road, maybe made a decision at the last second or forgot he was supposed to pit and looped it around there right before the pit road entrance.
Yeah, certainly. So where are the closest battles going to come from? Now this one for second is going to go on with around 7 laps to go or so. There'll be one here as well. Louis Barraza and Patrick Reed for 9th place will be going on. Patrick Reed there you can see driving for Vulture Motorsports, was 14th at Road Atlanta. So far this is going to be an improvement of a result, and you can't be too displeased with that. To be in a top 10 in a series which you previously weren't able to get there, it's going to be a pleasing result for Patrick Reed. He's got 6.5 minutes to hold on to that position, and the 17.5 seconds he's got back to 11th.
Yeah, this gap is really spread out, Ewan, and the race has sort of calmed down for the most part now as you look at the gaps on the side of your screen. As this race goes on, the talent will start to shine through, and it'll be harder and harder to find gaps or battles as this race ends.
It certainly will be, and this man has not been in a battle all season long so far. Alexis Moisan is just at one with this car. We saw this with Marlon McMullen in the previous season, the Production Car Challenge as it was called in the PRL. He won every race but one in that season. Alexis Moisan so far is going to have a 100% record if this continues. It will be 5 laps to go, I think, by the end of this one. Unless I've calculated slightly wrong, which I may have. I think it will be.
Yeah, I think 4 would be the number. Yeah.
Sorry, it's been a miscalculation from me there.
We're commentators, not mathematicians, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. We say this all the time to never trust us with mathematics, and that's exactly why. This is a good chance, though, Derek, to get a view as to what's happening with these drivers actually down on the road, because these cars are not easy to drive by any means, but Alexis Moisan is making it look easy here.
He does make it look easy, and you're right, they're not easy. They look easy because of how slow they are, but if you're used to driving a GT3 or a prototype, these cars are very hard to drive because in some ways you think you have so much time to set up your corner. Like, oh, how can I miss the apex in this car? But you can, because like it takes the timing to turn into it is way different, is what I'm trying to say. But I love this onboard here. We talked about it during qualifying about how much you want to abuse the curbs, how much you want to set up your corners and be ready to go. And I think our leader's going to deal with some lap traffic before this race is over, Ewan.
Yeah, that'll be Nathan Miller, who's driving in 11th place at the moment, to reduce the amount of cars on the lead lap to just 10 by the end of this short race. Just shows you the pace at the front of the field from Alexis Moisan as he pulls the car to the left for the penultimate corner. Look at the way he's using all of the road there on the left, then getting close to the curve on the right, then all the road on the left again, pull it to the right again, open out this final hairpin. You can use a bit of that curve, run out through the AstroTurf as well, and complete yet another lap here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It's over the line for the bump draft to victory at Toyota, and he will do it in a well, I'm not going to find out what time the screen won't update, but it's 36.5 from him on the previous lap, and that's about a 1/10 of a second, 2/10 of a second away from the best lap in the race, which incidentally he does hold by 4/10 of a second. In case you were wondering whether you were seeing the very best at work there, well, you certainly were, because Alexis Moisan is holding on to that best lap, and looks like he's going to do the clean sweep. Pole position, fastest lap, and the race win all in one day.
Yeah, it certainly does look that way. And not that I had any doubt about Nathan Miller, but you know, he did a great job at letting Moisan by on that straight. Did not become a problem. With the gap that there is between first and second, you know, I don't think he ever would have created enough of a problem to kill that lead. But as a leader, it's always a big breath of fresh air when a lap car lets you by.
For 5th place between Francis Castillo-Romero and Greg Bell. Very much going on. Graham Wilman not too far away actually from these guys either, but it was Bell leading these two around for quite a long portion of the opening part of this race, but his pit stop was just 6/10 of a second longer. That meant Romero could jump him. Now Bell is the one who has to do a bit of overtaking now, get up into 5th position. He'll use all of the right-hand side of the road there through the corkscrew to try and straight line this downhill drop as much as he can. They'll plunge downhill even further now, and they'll hit 2 to go when they go over the line. There's still time for Greg Bell to do this.
Yeah, and we've seen how you can make a move here in any of these corners. I mean, remember we saw that move into the corkscrew earlier. So, you know, it's be about breaking a little later and taking a risk if deciding if you want to get P5 out of this, you know, or if you're happy and content with a P6.
Going to go for a top 5 personally. He was second at Road Atlanta, let's not forget. He had the podium with Moisan and Rafael Franco. You can see 2 different podium drivers alongside Moisan here today. And it's, at the moment, going to be Lang and Sharp. Who's going to be inside the top 5 though? Will Romero hang on, or will it be Bell? Romero was a DNF from the opening round, by the way. Got caught up in a crash with Louis Barraza, I think it was. Or it could have been someone else. But I think it was Barraza. And it eventually forced his retirement from that opening round at Road Atlanta. That will no doubt become his drop round through the season, which of course you do get one, but we don't apply that to our standings until the halfway mark of the season. But 1 minute to go here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Moisan will be just about on his final lap right now. These guys about a lap and a third to go, and so far Greg Bell hasn't shown any signs of being even close enough for a move. There's the ever tiring right arm of Barney.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing there. You finally see Barney the flagman waving the white flag, and for our leader, this has just been a matter of time waiting to see that. So now start to breathe easier, knowing that it's just one more time around the circuit. No one really in front of him, so it's just him and the track. Take his time and secure this victory.
He certainly will. What will Greg Bell do here? He hasn't got time. He'll go over the line with seconds remaining. They'll get another one out of this. Will these guys, and Bell is closing with every moment into the Andretti hairpin for the final time. The best overtaking opportunity on the circuit, and Greg Bell's going to try and seize it on the outside line. It's Romero who defends well on the inside though, and now Bell will have to look for a different opportunity.
I thought he was going to try the switch around there to see if he could get the outside of the corner and dig it deeper on the inside, but either wasn't going for it or didn't complete it. I'm not sure which here. You can see he's looking, and he's closed that gap a lot, it looks like, from where they were just a lap ago.
There'll even be a chance down here towards turn 5. It would be a brave one, but he looked for it. Gets into the mirrors, gets into the head of Romero now, and he's got a good run as well. Surely he won't go for it at turn 6.
It's the last chance to take it, I think.
Yeah, possibly. Let's see, he needs a good run out of here and up towards the corkscrew. He might well have it as well. He's got the slipstream, he's got the inside line as well. He's going to peak on towards this move, and Romero lifts off on the way up the hill as well. Greg Bell's up to 5th place as over the line comes Alexis Moisan to take 2 out of 2 in the Precision Racing League GR86 series here from Laguna Seca. It's Greg Bell though who's taken 5th position in this late battle. Graham Wilburn is here just 1 lap too late, I think, but Romero might have to give it a go into the final corner now. Bell will be forced on the defensive. Romero will brake early. Will Bell go too deep? He might well have done. Romero gets hit by Wilburn, I think, as well. And I think he might be out of fuel. I think he might be just spluttering over the line, Romero. That might have been what he was struggling with. Francis Castillo Romero pulled it to the absolute limit, and in the end, he just ran out of fuel.
Well, the ironic thing, Ewan, is we thought that was going to happen to someone. We thought to someone else, but yeah, out of fuel at the line caused that little bit of race there, of an exciting race there right at the finish.
Exciting battle for 5th place. Graham Wilburn gets 6th as well as a result of that. Jared Farrell going to be disappointed with 8th, I think, at the end of this one. Louis Barraza will be 9th. This is a not a battle for position. That's Colin Nagelberg going wide. And we're going to see Patrick Reed as well round out the top 10. But good racing here from Laguna Seca. These smaller, slower cars suiting this circuit quite well.
No, they really do suit this track well. It's a fun race. Plenty of space for these cars. Plenty of turning opportunity. This is a great track for these cars. And I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in 2 weeks with GR86.
Absolutely. We will have a week off next week, of course, for the... because it will actually be it'll be the 3rd of July, won't it? But anyway, we're having a week off for that. Alexis Moisan goes 2 weeks out of 2, though. He wins at Laguna Seca, 14 seconds ahead of Michael Lang. Andrew Sharp joining him on the podium, with Jeremy Snyder just missing out despite running there for most of the race. Greg Bell gets that 5th place right at the very end. Graham Wilburn overtakes Romero as a result of Romero running out of fuel at the end. Jared Farrell recovers to 8th ahead of Louis Barraza, and Patrick Reed inside your top 10. Nathan Miller finished 11th a lap down, along with Edward Peltz, Colin Nagelberg. James Secrete was 3 laps down, with Rafael Franco 19 laps down after his crash early on in that race. Well, a fantastic race we have just seen at Laguna Seca. Let's bring in our podium drivers for a bit of a chat, starting with third and working our way on up. It's Andrew Sharp who joins us now. Andrew, welcome along to the commentary booth. Good to have you here. Tell us a little bit about that race and what it was like for you. I mean, were you surprised to see Michael come out in front of you through the pit stop phase? Because I have to be honest, I was a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, but I realized what he was doing. He was fuel saving while me and Jeremy were fighting. So props to him for saving that much fuel to be able to take. I think he probably took 2 liters less or something like that. His pit stop was like 2 seconds faster. So props to him. He played the great strategy game. It was a fun little strategy between us, Michael and Jeremy. So that was definitely kind of fun. But besides that, some good side-by-side racing overall, which was fun.
And that's exactly what we get from these cars week in, week out. What do you think about Alexis Moisan, though, out front of the field? I mean, you've been on the podium now. You were up inside the top 5 at Road Atlanta as well, which in any normal championship would be considered a good consistency. But when there's a guy winning 2 out of 2 there, it's kind of difficult to compete with. What do you think anyone can really do about the pace that he has so far this season?
We got rid of Marlon, and then we got him. I mean, yeah, he's just on another level. I think it's just going to take some more practice from all of us to get anywhere near him. So he's crushing it. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can say besides, he's doing a great job, and we got to all do better.
Absolutely. We need an ultimate death match between him and Marlon, really. That'd be fun to see.
I want Marlon to come back.
Yeah, we do. We need him back, but unfortunately, I don't know if that's quite going to happen for us. Hopefully it will, but we'll see. What do you think about Jerez next? Well, 2 weeks time, Andrew. Here we've got a week off, of course, but Jerez is on the calendar next. What are your thoughts on that circuit, if you have any?
Yeah, it's my first PRL pole, first and only, so hopefully it goes well again this time around. I don't know how it's going to play out this season, but I enjoyed the last week. I was surprised by how well the racing went.
Absolutely. Congratulations on your podium, Andrew, and thanks for chatting to us here tonight as well.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Andrew Sharp, the third place here at Laguna Seca today. Finished just ahead of Michael Lang, who will hopefully join us now. I've actually lost the ability to drag people now. Oh, here we go. I've managed it. Look, Michael, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. Second place on the day here at Laguna Seca, and pit strategy was very much the name of the game there. Took us through your thoughts heading into this race, and then how that developed a little bit over the course of the day.
Well, I knew that I didn't have anything for Alexis. I know that Andrew Sharp and I are very closely matched, and the only way that I was going to be able to pass him was in the pit. So I gambled. I took on a little bit less fuel and hoped to make it to the end. And luckily I did.
And how much of that strategy is down to this circuit and being able to do that? Or do you think that's going to be a format that we see quite a lot in these cars now throughout the course of this season?
Well, you definitely, you have to save fuel, to do that. I was short shifting and doing everything I could throughout the whole race because I knew that's what I was going to do. As soon as I had that mishap on the pace lap when my clutch malfunctioned, I knew that it was going to be a rough race for me. So I started strategizing as soon as the green flag waved. And I knew that the only way I was going to be able to pass anybody was in the pits. And so with these cars, the clutch and the ABS braking system is very twitchy. If you just a little too hard on the brakes, you're gonna lock the rear end up, and it's just gonna come out from underneath you. It's they're kind of squirrely cars when you get on the edge.
Certainly are. I don't particularly desire to drive them sometimes when I see them, I've got to be honest. Michael, congratulations on second place here tonight at Laguna Seca, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon across the course of the season.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank Huntington, my sponsor, so I appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Michael Lang, second place here today. Of course, we won't see him next week. It's a week off, but I get the idea. Alexis Moisan will also join us now from the race win. Alexis, welcome in. Good to have you here again. It's another lights to flag victory for you on this occasion, but this time you've done the clean sweep of getting the pole position and the fastest lap to go with it as well. You must be very pleased.
Yeah, I'm very happy. It was quite a solo race, but it was very fun. Laguna is one of my favorite tracks, so we're happy to have a win here.
And what about a couple of weeks' time when we go to Jerez as well? We're embarking on a relatively new circuit in iRacing, but it's been around for almost 4 months now. How do you feel about that track?
I've never raced there, so I don't really know what to expect. But we'll see. I think I have a good pace in this championship, so just keep on going, keep practicing, and we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely, we will. Alexis, congratulations on another win here today, or tonight, and thanks very much for chatting to us.
Thank you, have a great night.
Thanks very much. Alexis Moisan there, first place at Laguna Seca. And also, I know we've done our podium, guys, but we've got another driver waiting for us as well by the name of Graham Wilburn, so we'll bring him in as well because he finished 6th today. Graham, welcome in. Good to have you here from 6th place. It got pretty intense towards the end. You arrived at that battle a little bit too late, unfortunately, but tell us your thoughts after that race.
Yeah, so I went for the early stop there because I saw them battling in front of me. I got caught up in a bit of traffic, so I lost a couple seconds when they came out of the pits, so I was just hoping for something to happen in front of me, and luckily it did.
Certainly did. By the way, you've had the most support I've ever seen in a RaceSpotTV broadcast for a single individual for quite some time. So congratulations, I guess is the word for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I made the mistake of putting the link to the stream here in my Discord server, and I got a bunch of fans out there. So thanks everybody for watching.
Exactly, and they're all going wild now, so that's great. But tell us a little bit like what it's like to battle in one of these cars now, because it's unique car, I think it's fair to say. I don't particularly desire to drive it because it doesn't look very nice to me. But what are these like actually when you're in amongst battles, when you're actually racing? Because you were actually having to do quite a lot of battling and racing here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this car is pretty twitchy, especially on the brakes, because you can't adjust the brake bias on it. So when you're on the brakes coming into a corner, you got to be really careful about trail braking, or else you over-rotate the car. Overall, I really do enjoy it. It's a very dynamic experience. It's not on rails by any means, so it's a good car to drive.
Absolutely. Congratulations, by the way, on 6th place here tonight, Graham. Thanks very much for coming to chat to us, and hopefully we'll see you again over the course of the season.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, Graham Woolman there. In the 6th position here tonight at Laguna Seca. That's going to do us for the GR86 series, but don't go anywhere. We'll be with you with LMP3 and GT4 action very, very soon. So make sure you stick around with us for that. But in a couple of weeks' time, we will be at Jerez, as we mentioned earlier on. Here is a little bit of a look. Well, that's Laguna Seca, but it's it will be the next circuit. 2 weeks' time, let's not forget. No race next week because of July 4th. I know it'll be July 3rd at the time, but you get the idea. 8:30 ET, as always, for the GR86 series, and I very much hope you will join us for that as we go to a new circuit. But it's time to move forward to a new series here tonight in the Precision Racing League. New car in iRacing, the LMP3 making its PRL debut last week at Watkins Glen. Now we head to Long Beach. We've got some tight circuits on this calendar, namely this one coming up today. Mosport and Suzuka in the next 2 weeks are going to be difficult too. But then there's some more Grand Prix style racetracks like the Nürburgring Grand Prix layout and the Road America circuit as well. But it doesn't get much easier over the course of the season. These are some tight and twisty racetracks, and given what we saw last week at Watkins Glen, we're certainly in for some action here at Long Beach here this evening. Let's have a look at the driver's standings as well after the only round of the season so far. In GT4, first of all, it's Justin Rem who leads the standings ahead of Conor Wagner and Austin Wilkins, who's third. Then it's Nicholas Schwartz and Jeff Evans, who were inside the top 5 as well. Alex de Almeida and Evan Way are on the same point. Evan Way got the pole position in that race, but finished position 5. That's how they're tied up there. William Brennan, Nathan Deering and Miguel Ruiz were the other drivers inside the top 10. In LMP3, we've got Wayne Castile, who's leading the standings after the clean sweep at Watkins Glen. Adam Brockway, his teammate, was second ahead of Mariano Barrios. Then it was Pat Pelchat, who gains loads of positions on the day ahead of Devon Horvath. Austin Lawrence was 6th ahead of Ethan Taratas. Then Jake Haskell 8th. Andrew Hardman and Joshua Chinsky round out your top 10. Well, we had quite an introduction to this series last week, Derek. It was fantastic to see the run out at Watkins Glen. Now we head to Long Beach for a race almost like no other.
Well, yeah, it is like no other, but for the first time that Ewan this season, I think we get to finally see a prototype in iRacing that's not at the Watkins Glen. Of course, week 1 was the LMP2s and the 6 hours of Glen. Last week was the LMP3s, and all the series include that. So for the first time now, we're going to see these prototypes race not at Watkins Glen. Of course, now we're at the historic Long Beach circuit. So we're back-to-back IndyCar race circuits here tonight, Ewan.
Yes, and back-to-back West Coast circuits as well. I'm not sure how geographically close those two circuits are to each other, by the way, because I'm English, but they seem close to me. They might not be in real life, but anyway, it's a really fantastic street circuit. Great to have it in iRacing as well, by the way. There was a time on this service where we thought that street circuits just weren't possible with the limitations of well, life and the service and all and computers
scanning and all that.
Kind of thing. Yeah. But iRacing have shown that it is possible, and in great detail as well.
Yeah, in great details. Right in the fact, as we come around here, you'll see the fountain. The iconic fountain shot that every TV broadcast has. We'll have one too, don't you worry about it. We're going to ride on board here with an LMP3 as we come down through the circuit. And something to note for the start of the race tonight, Ewan, as we're still working our way through qualifying and whatnot. Race admins have told the LMP3s that for the first lap they need to be single file through the fountain. It's just that tight of racing with these cars. They don't want to risk it. For the first lap, you need to be single file. GT4s, have at it, boys.
Well, it's going to be difficult for them as well, I've got to say. We'll get those times up for you in a few moments' time, by the way. It's a bit of a rush between these two sessions. It's madness behind the scenes. We'll get those times to you as soon as we have them. But for now, we're just taking a little bit of a look around Long Beach, although it looks like the driver we're on board with right now is slowing to an almost complete stop. It is notable in this session, of course, 10 minutes, but you're limited by 4 laps. And because this circuit is so short, that this is one of the few circuits where you might actually reach the limit of your qualifying allocation here this evening. And so that's why we're seeing some of these drivers slow down towards the end of this session, knowing that they've done all they can over the course of this session. But we're only a couple of minutes away from the end of qualifying now and heading towards a 40-minute race. And yeah, it's going to be quite the action. Here we go with the times then. Andrew Hardman is currently on pole, provisionally in LMP3, and it's Miles Brown who's currently leading in the GT4 category, but Conor Wagner immediately goes in front there.
Yep, Conor Wagner, pardon me, does immediately go up in front. We're going to watch Doug Evans here on board with that beautiful green car. Currently got a... Yeah, it's timing is not right, so we're going to ignore that current time. That would be a heck of a lap time here at Long Beach, Ewan. We picked up like an Uber fare and a pizza delivery route in that time, I think.
2.5 minutes. That can't be true. Although it could be. No. Oh, no, it wasn't. No. That was Doug Evans coming over the line. Parker Muirhead in the 11. Making way towards the final corner. And out of it in the Aston Martin. Very nice livery, by the way. You can almost see a real-life Aston Martin team going for this kind of design over the line. And it is a 25.6, a big improvement. Muirhead, and that's up to 17th in the standings. There's Floyd Kerr in the LMP3, making his way over the line and weaving towards turn number 1. Bit of support for Andrew Hardman in the YouTube chat, which is good to see for the 111. He's currently on pole ahead of Brockway and Castile. Those 3 drivers separated by a 10.5, and we could be in for a good race in between the 3 of them as well.
We could, and of course these cars are fun to watch, they're fun to race. Yeah, they're not an LMP2, and yeah, there's a lot of memes and trolling going about these cars, but these are great race cars. It's a very good entry prototype if that's the path you want to take in iRacing. You know, iRacing has done a great job, Ewan, lately of making, I guess, career paths of cars, whether it be you want to do open wheels with, you know, now the F4 sponsorship and F3s and work your way up through there. Maybe you want to do prototypes, and now it's LMP3, LMP2, LMDH. It's one of the great parts of the service is that career path that iRacing is building for every style of racing.
Absolutely. I remember a time in iRacing where pretty much the only open wheel was the F1 car as that was brought in. And, you know, pretty much the only prototype was, well, we didn't have any. We had the HPD for a very long time, but We didn't really have any. Now we've got a full ladder of them, and iRacing has done a lot better in recent years to get lots more sports cars onto the service. Now we've got a fantastic grid of them, including these LMP3s, which I will attempt to go through now in the starting grid when we get it in a few moments' time. All the GT4s as well. There's so many of them, by the way, so we'll do this as quickly as possible. Andrew Hartman and Andrew Brockway will be on the front row together ahead of race 1 winner Wayne Castillo. Ozzy Milwell will be 4th ahead of Ethan Tavitas and Walker Caton in the 6th position. Mariano Barrios will be half a tenth away in 7th ahead of Devon Horvath. Then it will be David Durno and Alec Bergstrom inside the top 10. Joey Haynes and Uri Rexoy, who's been getting a bit of support in the chat as well, is in 12th. Joshua Chinsky and Michael Tarafino share row 7 ahead of Jake Haskell and Floyd Kerr. That's Austin Lawrence and Vincent Generou in the 17th and 18th position. Darian Roy is 19th ahead of Mark Catlin. That's Joseph Homan and Bradley Holly just missing out on the top 20 because Holly, along with Nicholas Salaputis and Stephen Haffert, have not set lap times in that opening session. The only session, indeed, for the qualifying. In GT4, it's Conor Wagner, who was second in the first race, now on pole here at Long Beach. Miles Brown is second ahead of Ryan Kerr and Alex de Almeida. Then it's Justin Rem, race 1 winner, alongside William Brennan in the 6th position. Row 4 is shared by Miguel Ruiz and Nicholas Schwartz, with Jeff Evans and Aaron Create in the top 10. Carl Bishop and John Duong on row 6 together, and all Porsche row 6. Jeff Parson and Nathan Deering are on row 7 together, Jared DePluy and Wayne Grenon. Then it's Parker Muirhead in the Aston Martin, with one of the few BMWs of Douglas Curry in the 18th position. 19th will be Travis Chapman ahead of Nicholas Johnson. Matthew Ardy Campbell just misses out on the top 20 with Doug Evans. Jeffrey Seabock 23rd ahead of Will Jennings for Big Fast Racing. And that, I think, is going to do it. But somewhere between 40 and 50 cars. I think it's 45 on the grid here. Maybe a bit more than that. Maybe approaching 50. But simply put, Derek, there's not the space around this circuit for this amount of cars. And, thankfully, the LMP3s are going to be forced single file through the final corner. But this is going to be quite a race.
Two big keys to watch out here for you. Want to be lap 1 around the fountain. That's going to be chaos. And then how fast the LMP3s are going to be in lap traffic. There'll be no peace and quiet, no rest for the wicked, if you will, for those LMP3 cars.
Well, single file through the hairpin, but they're encouraged to get double file again as they run up towards the line. It's safe to say that not everyone's going to manage that, and we're going to go green flag racing before we get to that point whatsoever. Oh, there's already contact on the front straight. So one of the LMP3s already with big suspension damage as it just crawls along the inside wall, but the green flag is waving here on the west coast. It's green flag at Long Beach. We are underway in towards turn number 1 for Andrew Hartman, who should be in the lead of the race here and holds it through the opening corner. No, indeed, it's Adam Brockway who's gotten off to a good start through the fountain for the first time now, as the LMP3s are a little bit slow. The GT4's already catching them into the fountain section for the first time.
All in all, we saw a couple cars get wide in the fountain so far, Ewan, but overall pretty clean through there. We saw some tires locked up. We saw some cars going wide, but everyone has made it through fairly okay.
Well, Alec Bergstrom was one of them who got caught up in that incident with Darren Roy as well, as there was contact on the front straight going towards the green flag for the first time. Adam Brockway leads though, ahead of Andrew Hartman. Then it's Wayne Castillo who remains in 3rd. Ozzy Milway remains 4th with Ethan Taratas 5th. That's wide from Castillo. He'll be on the defensive into the hairpin. He'll barely get round, and Ozzy Milway will be very close as into the pit lane, because Adam Brockway, I think he may have jumped the start.
He must have, yeah, because that's the only reason you pit right there is if you have a penalty. It's way too early to be pitting for any kind of benefit, so that's going to give way to a new leader here, a new sets of cars up front.
Drew Hartman back to the lead then, as a result of that jump start to the fountain section for the second time. It's close. Oh, it's wide from Walker Caton. Very nearly finds the wall. David Tuno gets through, and so does everybody else, but that could have easily been a lot worse.
Yeah, great job there by avoiding him and seeing what happened there. Here comes Brockway off the road.
Oh.
He's going to come
traffic.
right here in the middle of the GT4s. This will be hairy for everyone involved here.
Oh, and it's a teammate in a GT4. Doesn't know where to go. Oh, and they've made contact. Goodness me, that was close in towards the fountain section. And they all sort themselves out. It's chaos, by the way, up front in the GT4s.
Oh.
Conor Wagner's away from the rest of the field. Miles Brown and Mick. Oh, my word, what's going on here? Justin Rem is involved. There's, more going on. One of the Mercedes goes around right in front of Bergstrom, who got the... excuse me, not Bergstrom, is it? It's Brockway. Turning around, I think it's Alex de Almeida who's turning around again and getting back underway. What a chaotic start. Conor Wagner has found himself nearly 5 seconds in the lead already in this race.
There's a Stephen Hassett, I believe that's right there. It's right there in that LMP3 was all spun around. Oh, no.
He's going to hit the wall and he'll be... Oh, don't move, don't move. Oh, no, no, no. This is going to cause a big mess for everybody. And it has done. There's a roadblock at the final corner. Justin Rem's around. Another one of the GT4s as well. They'll get themselves out the way the best they can. But what do you do about this?
I don't know what you do about this, Ewan. But ironically tonight, it's second burst, same as the first, as we did at Laguna Seca for the 86. Is the first lap pretty clean, pretty calm. I thought, all right, we got this under control. And second lap, pure chaos.
Absolute chaos. Conor Wagner leads by nearly 5 seconds, and that's because he's gotten out of the chaos. Andrew Hartman and Wayne Castile are fighting amongst themselves for the lead here as well. It's only 3 laps in to a 40-minute race here on the streets of Long Beach. Down into the final hairpin again. These LMP3s barely with the steering lock to make it all the way around here without scraping that wall on the outside line. We did see a few changes of position, by the way, in the midfield here of LMP3 on that last lap, but I don't think it's notable enough to show you. That was exceptionally odd through the opening corner. That was Chapman who found himself into the wall, but I've never seen a crash like that before, I've got to be honest.
That either he broke his suspension on an earlier wall hit, Ewan, or maybe some kind of hardware failure within at home, because hello.
No, sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Really
that was the right call for that.
That was
I was gonna say, or maybe he
disaster.
broke his hardware, like a wheel went bad or something, because that was just a weird turn in that race spot car he had right there to hit the wall in that GT4 like that.
Yeah, I could get behind it. Technical failure. Well happen. This is Jared Deplu, by the way, who qualified inside the top 10, getting into all sorts of trouble with another one of the Porsches in the opening moments, and then trying to duck around it. He almost causes more trouble. But this is before we've even got into proper lap traffic. Sure, some of the LMP3s who have gotten themselves out of sequence have found themselves in the GT4s, but what on earth is going to happen in this race when we get into proper traffic?
I mean, chaos is what's going to happen. I mean, we've already saw a little bit of it. Of course, that LMP3 that caused the chaos had probably broken suspension or whatnot, but we're not that far from finding out, I don't think. Now, this is a beautiful battle right here for first and second. You can see right now that Wayne Castile is trying everything possible to find his way around here. And now, there it is, a GT4 right in front of him.
Now you can see the more and the sponsorship just on the flanks, and here goes Wayne Castile. Andrew Hartman chooses the wrong lane there to try and get through on the Porsche, and that's exactly what you've got to do at any circuit, but especially Long Beach. You have to be smart in traffic, and Wayne Castile certainly was there.
Yeah, it definitely was. You'll see it again here. Watch this. He's going to ride the outside, which is the correct lane. Oh, the GT4 just had to get on the brakes to avoid that tire barrier, and he just held up the car behind him.
I'm not sure going around the outside there for Hardman was a good idea. I think just waiting in the way that Castillo did was a better idea personally. But he's done it now, and he'll have to come from behind. Maybe following Castillo through the traffic will be a better idea. Let's wait and see. This is one of the Porsches. They're just lapping off right now. This is Miles Brown, I believe we're on board with, and he's going to get tapped around. So he was the Mercedes that was there. And how does Justin Rem get involved here? Because we know that he does at some point. Looking for a multicoloured Porsche. Oh no, it's a separate incident. So that must not be the only time Miles Brown has been around at that corner, because I could have sworn it was him that was around when Justin Rem was, when we had that almost complete blockage at the final corner.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what we saw there as well is he had some help in getting around there. He had some assistance with a chrome horn, if you will, in turning that car around.
There's Jeff Parsons, who may well be the guilty culprit, because I think it was that Aston Martin, wasn't it, who got into the back of Brown. Don't want to point fingers, but I think it was. Nathan Deering just up in front of that Aston Martin now, very nearly getting into that contact again, but there is some suspect damage on the front of that Aston Martin as well, and he now pulls out of line to maybe give away 6th. No, he's going to stay in that position, but there is some damage on the front as we get a replay of some lap traffic here. Well, this is an indication of what one of the GT4s is going through right now. Doesn't want to be any part of that at all.
No, he does not. And in some ways made the right move. There's always this conversation, you in multi-class racing as a driver, about what do you do. And of course, as a faster class driver, we always say, hey, be predictable. Let's watch this here.
Oh no. Going to be painful to watch.
That's a great transition. What I was just saying, Ewan, be predictable as a slower car. Don't try to take any special lane. Don't let me by. Don't slam on the brakes. Just be predictable. Run your line, and I will get around you as the faster car. As a slower car, you get petrified in those moments, and you're trying to help. It just doesn't always work out.
Yep, you do often want the slower cars to just stay to their line, but now traffic really is the name of the game. Wayne Castile is dealing with it beautifully. Andrew Harmon has lost 2.5 seconds as a result. This is a replay of what happened a little bit earlier. Excuse me, this is live pictures. We were on replay a couple of moments ago. This is traffic of Long Beach. The negotiation here for Castile is very, very difficult, and it is hard for everybody, but he's getting through it better than most, and with more than 3 seconds back to Hardman, he's showing himself why he won at Watkins Glen and why he's leading here as well.
Yeah, and a beautiful job right there to get around that GT4. Had to straight away there.
Here's into the fountain section. This is live fit. Oh no! Live pictures, and we've got a crash. I think Nathan Deering is involved. John Dong as well. That's Jeff Parsons, you can see in the Aston Martin. What has gone on there? It's for the battle inside the top 5.
That's the same Aston Martin we saw earlier.
Yep. This is what happens. It's already going wrong for Parsons in towards the fountain. It's going even more wrong. Nathan Deering wants to get through, but just can't. And then Parsons spins in front of Deering, and the Porsche goes around as well.
This is the challenge with circuits like this. They're fun, they're exciting, they're iconic, but they're tiny. They're tiny, Ewan, and there's no time to breathe here. It's like, it feels like take Watkins Glen and cut it in half, and that's what we're dealing with tonight.
Yeah, it's very, very.
And it wasn't as if there was a lack of traffic at Watkins Glen either, you know.
No, certainly not. Let's have a look at one of the LMP3s coming out the pit lane. Someone coming out pit lane, barely missing the pit lane exit tyre wall there. It's quite a narrow pit exit, by the way, and all of these drivers will have to deal with that at some point out the race. These cars are fuel limited, so that you'll have to make a stop at some point throughout. So I believe, anyway. I remember from last week correctly, and I believe so. More traffic down into the fountain section as iRacing tries to hold on to 7th place. He'll make a dive down the inside of one of the Mercedes, just in the corner after the fountain. Another car will come through at the next turn, and then there'll be another on the next straight, and into the next turn. It's going to be relentless now for everyone.
It is going to be relentless. That's a very true comment. You know, I'm surprised that Aston Martin right there with that Race Labs logo is still driving you, and we've seen it involved in, I think, 2 or 3 different incidents tonight, but it looks fine, all things considered. Ooh, a little bit tight. Oh, man. That is not the line through that corner, though.
I think some of these GT4s are trying to stay out of the way at this point now. As we said not to do earlier, but I think we saw that towards the end of Watkins Glen, and you might be seeing it here. Parsons leaves a bit of room there, and it's not enough, clearly. Joshua Chinsky, who gets up on that curve, as you say, and goes around.
And that's one of the differences here, I think, you went between Long Beach and the Glen, as we see an overhead shot here, is At the Glen, you kind of want to abuse the curbs. The curbs are your friend. Here at Long Beach, not so much.
This is Andrew Harbin trying to hang on to second in LMP3. It's Ozzy Milwane just behind. And they are liveried as if they're teammates, of course.
They are.
And that is because they are.
Yeah.
So that's your reason for it. Evolve Sim Sports LMP3 is the team. That's what I was trying to find for you there. But unfortunately, didn't have a great round. Ozzy Milwane didn't score any points. So the only points they have in the team's championship are to Hardman's name, and that was 42 that he scored in the opening round of the season. That's put them 5th in the team standings from the opening round of the season. It's more or less M Squad Purple, by the way, who are leading those standings with a 1-2 at Watkins Glen. So a lot of work to do here, but two drivers from the same team on the podium is a good way to get their round underway here for a single team for Evolve, and so far it's going quite well for them. They've got 6 seconds to the drivers behind now.
It is, and you know what? These LMP3s, of course, are new to the service this season, and they're so popular. They're pulling in PRL regulars from other series. Of course, Ozzy Milwane we see every Thursday night in that F3 series, and I think towards the back of the pack is still Bradley Holly. He, of course, is part of that Wednesday night truck and Xfinity broadcast that you can also find here on RaceSpot. Now we'll go back to our replay here with Mark Kalin. He's loops it around. Nice job, though, and kept it moving. Not bad. Probably a good 6 or 7 out of 10 on the spin, I'd say.
You've got to top rate them. Yeah, he had a little bit of difficulty as well, did Kalin at Watkins Glen, unfortunately. Finished 13th, though, which is more than some can say. Still 3 seconds the lead for Wayne Castile as we go back to another replay at the hairpin. It's an awkward one. Jeff Parsons very nearly rear-ends someone, and it gets really awkward there now. Round goes the Aston Martin, and thankfully everyone, I think, avoids, and the Aston Martin able to reverse out of the way.
That's got to be the worst spot on track, Ewan, for that to happen, because as a driver, we like to think we have, vision around a corner to see what's happening. But of course, with that hairpin right there, there's no luck. You'll see a local yellow flag, and you'll hear, car spun ahead, but there's no way to know when you come to that corner what's ahead of you.
Oh.
There's another pair of teammates, maybe not teammates. Oh, hold on.
Oh, Jake Haskell.
No, I'm sorry. Look at it again. Yeah, they're not
Yep.
teammates. Sorry about that. They looked almost the same, though.
They do look very similar. General doesn't have a team as far as I can make out, and Haskell's part of Broken UI Racing, along with Michael Terrafino. And this is a big stack up on the way into the hairpin because of Conor Wagner, I think that is, just in front, the GT4 leader. Well, it could be a similarly liveried Mercedes. Actually, I think it might be. I don't think that's Wagner. No, it's not. That's Miguel Ruiz. It's Miguel Ruiz in second place, excuse me. Wagner about 7 seconds up the road, and that's a healthy advantage to be holding after just around quarter of an hour.
Adam Brockway is on pit road. I'm guessing this might be closer to that scheduled pit stop here. We're coming up on halfway into this race. This might be just be an early stop. See if he can maybe get around some of this traffic as they come around in pit road. Maybe he'll have clean track. Maybe that's the plan there.
Possibly. I think it is time though for those pit stops to start being thought about. If you can see a lot of traffic in front of you, then it might be worth ducking in, but where are you going to find any free track space around here? We've still got plenty of cars out there on the circuit, more than 20 LMP3s and just under 20 of the GT4s. I think we've still got close to 40 out there on the circuit. This is a battle in the GT4s, a little bit further down in the order as far as I can make out. I think this is championship leader and race winner from the opening round, Justin Rem, in the Porsche. Is, and Parker Muirhead is just up in front, and they're side by side into the hairpin. Oh no, there's contact, and there's going to be a roadblock in front of them. Thankfully, it's cleared by the time they get there, and they all gain a place.
What a difference a track makes, Ewan. I mean, last race we were focusing on battles, but there wasn't much contact. It was a kind of a mild and timid race compared to this, I guess. We thought the last race was getting exciting. There's no lack of things to comment on in this race.
It has just calmed slightly over the course of the next few minutes, or the last few minutes I should say, at Long Beach, but did that very much so at Watkins Glen, to the point where Everybody was just kind of riding around where they were at the end of the race at Watkins Glen. Still think there's going to be more drama to come from this race as we ride on board with the winner from that race at Watkins Glen in the GT4 category. Beat Conor Wagner by a small margin by the end, but this time he's only fighting for 9th position. Parker Muirhead just up in front is the next on the list. It's a good exit and a flash of the light from him as well, but no move in towards the right-hander. Oh, as Muirhead gets it wrong. Where's he gone? I think he's gone into the wall and, well, that might well be damage on that Aston Martin.
Not a good night for the couple of Aston Martin cars we've seen on screen here tonight, Ewan. Both of them now having some problems of different types, but he seems to be running okay overall. Maybe not any suspension damage. A little bit of loud engine there as we come to that corner. I'm gonna have to talk to that camera guy about his microphone, I think.
That's just his fault. We'll blame him for that. No, I'm joking, of course. Battle for 4th place here between Ethan Taratas, David Duno and Walker Caton. Make their way towards the final hairpin now with a bit of smoke up in front. I think tyre lock up for someone just up in front of them. Possibly not, but they make their way out the other side. All fine, and we'll see if Duno is close enough to make a move in towards turn 1. Would have to be a brave one, really. More than 20 minutes remaining on the streets of Long Beach. Duno gets close, but he won't make a move. It's ominous, though. Those few GT4s in front of them are going to be in their way before we know it, and here they are.
You know, Ewan, I was thinking in my head, there's this very different style of racing, and some drivers love this. They love this kind of high energy, always being around someone. You're always racing, you know, this kind of style. Some drivers prefer the opposite. Hold on.
Wow, that was close. And now the dive. It could be too much down the inside for Duno. It's side by side for 4th place, and they're going to almost make contact 3 wide twice on the way up to this right-hander. Unbelievable racing, and Ethan Tamatas comes out the other side with the position.
Nice job by those guys. I was going to say that was almost 4, but yeah. And some drivers prefer a track like Spa, maybe, or a track like a Nürburgring. You could go a lap, 2, 3, 4 laps without seeing someone. To me, this style of racing as a driver is exhausting. There's no time to think. There's no time to maybe grab a sip of water. There's no time to do anything other than hold on, than wreck.
Into the wall for David Duno, and he'll be into the pit lane. No surprise there, because he has damage.
It's a conveniently placed wreck, if you will, but still a wreck nonetheless.
Yeah. Not ideal to have them anywhere, ideally, but if it's going to be anywhere, then why not into the final corner? That will be damage repair and a scheduled pit stop as well, as we hit pretty much exactly the halfway mark now in this race. PRL LMP3 GT4 challenge from the streets of Long Beach, round 2 of this championship here in 2023. Oh no! Ozzy Milwain!
Oh, Ozzy.
Just
not
cut
clear.
across the front of Parker Muirhead, I think that was, and he's found himself in the wall.
That's a case of not clear, driver. The spotter should have been speaking up there and letting him know there was still a car there. He just tried to transition out too early, I think. Good news is for now, with the gap he had, still P3. Want to see how that car behaves and how it feels in the next lap or so. Watch it again here, Ewan.
Yeah, I think he did realise there was someone alongside him there, but you notice the way that the wall just turns to the left-hand side a little bit, and I think he just misjudged it really, rather than not knowing that there was someone alongside him. I think he just misjudged the wideness of his car and how much space that Aston Martin on the outside had to play with as well, because typically you wouldn't see that kind of mistake really at that corner.
Now you're right, of all the things we've seen tonight, Ewan, that's not the place we've seen any incidents so far that I can think of. It's usually been out of the hairpin, so very surprising for Ozzy Milwain.
Now Joey Haynes, another one of his teammates, will be under pressure. This is Floyd Kerr down the inside in towards position 5. And that's a big jump up in the field for Floyd Kerr, by the way, today. Pretty sure he started way outside the top 10. I could be wrong, but he's been making some moves early on. He'll be making another one there in one of the GT4s. There's your movers and shakers. Started 16th today, which is not quite what Pat Pelchak was able to do last week, but it's still a very, very impressive gain from Floyd Kerr. Gaining 11 places. Bradley Honey's gained 13 so far today. There's plenty of big movers so far today.
Well, right now, Ewan, pit stops are finally underway for the LMP3s, the scheduled pit stops, that is. So for a GT4s, for a moment or two, you're gonna have a quiet track for just a moment. It'll feel almost like dead on the track.
Urexoy, by the way, has found himself in the wall down there at turn 8 as you go on to East Seaside Way. I don't know if he's been in the wall, but he's certainly been down the escape road, because he dropped 2 places to Floyd Kerr and Joey Haynes there. Let's have a look at it. And it is too late on the brakes. He's had to reverse out of an awkward place there, and that little mistake there has cost him 2 positions.
Boy, at a track like this, even seeing someone back up kind of makes you anxious, makes you tense up. Just makes you nervous something's going to happen around that corner, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a tricky braking zone. Urexo now is going to be really nervous around the next couple of laps. Get through on this GT4 on the way out the fountain. Let's have a quick look at Conor Wagner now, because he's currently leading in GT4. He's got around 8 seconds ahead of Miguel Ruiz, and so far it's been a very, very good drive from the pole sitter in this class.
That is the most track we've seen ahead or behind someone all night, Ewan. That looks like he's on a different race course almost.
Certainly doesn't look as busy as it did earlier on, and certainly things have calmed down a little bit, which this race absolutely did need, because it was complete carnage to start off with. Now things starting to settle down a little bit. Wagner with nearly 8 seconds though. Took a lot of the accolades from the Watkins Glen round as well, by the way, as he took fastest lap and 2nd place on the end of the race as well. See if he can take pole position and the win here, and maybe a fastest lap point as well will do him some favours in the course of the championship. There's some GT4 pit stops now starting to be made with just over a quarter of an hour to go. Still plenty of them to be done though, because you can see the amount of zeros on the left hand side of your screen. That indicates drivers that have made no pit stops so far in this race.
Yeah, and in fact, I was looking at it a second ago. There's even a bunch of LMP3s who are stretching this out. Wayne Steele, Hardman, Kate Bird, all waiting for that last possible second to go on pit road, because they all have zeros next to their name as well.
Yeah, still lots of stops to be had. We ride on board now with Joey Haynes, one of the Evolve SimSport drivers. A little bit behind Andrew Hardman, one of his teammates, and already seen Ozzy Milwain drop back to 9th place now as a result of his contact with the wall earlier on. But it's a good view as to how much you actually see out of one of these LMP3s, which sometimes is not all that much, especially to the right and left of you.
Beautiful onboard shot here, just watching here and seeing how we use these curves. You're like, look at that viewpoint there. Not a whole lot there to the right of this car. Of course, you sit on the right in this car, something that maybe us American iRacing members are not used to. But yeah, it's very yeah, as we're being told in our ears, some people do cheat and move their cameras, but that's not a simulator.
Wow.
People.
That's smart. Wow, Justin is one of those people as well. He's admitted to it. I don't know if he wasn't admitted to it publicly, but I've done it for him. So there we are. But no, it's a very unusual thing to see actually in race cars. I would have thought, because for the most part, I would say for more than half the world, you do end up driving, positioning your car on the right, but driving in your car on the left, because that makes sense. But it's not often you get. To my knowledge anyway, that you get cars that you drive on the right. Maybe it's more common than I think. But anyway,
the only other iRacing I could think of that does that would be the Radical, I think.
Well, you're in the middle in the Radical. I thought it was
yeah, no, but I meant not left. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, it's in the middle. But I was thinking not left in a race car in iRacing.
Oh, sorry,
it's
yeah.
The LMP3 and the Radical. I don't know if there are others, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Maybe, well, we're going to go down a whole rabbit hole here of different cars, but yeah, it's unusual as well, because it's not even a generally European thing. It's really only in the UK and Australia major.
You know, and what that viewpoint of that LMP3 onboard reminded me of, you had reminded me of the old LMP1s we used to use in the service. They still exist, but we don't really drive them anymore. But remember, those things had like a tank periscope like kind of viewpoint from them. That's what that LMP3 viewpoint reminded me of when we saw it there.
I wish we could bring the LMP1s back. Not so much in real life, that'd be a bad idea, but in iRacing, we've still got them. Why don't we use them for something at some point? I don't know. Anyway, pit stop still very much going on. Nicholas Schwartz from inside the top 5 has made his way out of pit lane in the GT4s. Matthew Campbell is going to be quite close to him and will get through indeed as well, as we jump back to Joey Haynes as he tries to make his way through on Floyd Kerr now. The fight for 4th place, still waiting for pit stops here, nearly half an hour into this race.
Yeah, time has flown by. I looked up a second ago and I was surprised we're already at 15 minutes. Now we're down to about 12 and a half. Oh, I guess time flies when you're having fun, because this has been a blast.
It's been a good race so far. Leclerc just ducks out from behind one of the Porsches onto the front straight right now. And will hold on to his 4th place. He'll get caught up behind this GT4 though in the first sector, and will have to really defend from Joey Haynes on the exit of this opening sector, I would say. To the fountain they go. Kerr has been maximising, I think, just fuel saving through this little bit, because he knows he won't be able to get through on this similarly coloured Mercedes, who hinted at a fence in towards turn 5 as well, and they'll now go out from behind the Mercedes. Haynes all of a sudden only 2 tenths behind Kerr up in front of him.
Saw an example of different lines being taken there a second ago. You saw the green and white car really ride to the very outside out of that corner. You see, you could find something different here.
Another bit of traffic in front. Could be Parker Muirhead maybe, or one of the Aston Martins towards the final sector. Haynes deciding to hang back there, deciding that it's the best idea to hang back for now. Even Deering is dropping down the order for some reason. Schwartz and Kerr are fighting for positions here. This is for 4th place.
So we saw our first use of headlights tonight right there, I think. Saw some flashing headlights on that green GT4 a second ago.
Normally in a GT4 it's because you're not very happy with something a prototype has done, so I hope that wasn't the case, but I have a feeling that might have been the case for Nicholas Schwartz, as Conor Wagner makes his pit stop, and we'll see how far ahead of Miguel Ruiz he's going to come out here.
Pit stop's underway there. You know, I'll get your opinion, Ewan, as we're racing here with about 10 minutes to go. What are your thoughts on flashing headlights in a day race? I think it's one of the most pointless things we do in iRacing. Like, the odds are the person in front of you doesn't see it. Is it just the moral of the story? Is that why you do it?
Yeah, I suppose it makes you feel a bit better in the car yourself, rather than actually doing anything to affect the driver you're flashing at. You can at least feel like you've done something about it, even in the daytime. Although I would say that you can certainly see it, but I'm not sure how much drivers actually take notice of it, as Conor Wagner will not have anyone flashing at him. He's more than 12 seconds out in the lead of this race with 10 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and if you're Conor Wagner right now, you're stoked that you're 12 seconds ahead, but you have to keep your eyes open and your head on a swivel this whole race. As we said, just crazy things happen here with traffic, so not an easy path here for the next 9 minutes with Conor Wagner by any means.
No, won't be. Andrew Hartman and Walker Caton both find their way into pit lane from the LMP3s as we look at the highest place battle in GT4. Just interrupted briefly by one of the LMP3s in between them, one of the widest motorsport cars by the looks of it. Stucking around towards turn 6, another LMP3 comes to fill that void now. And you can see the difference in the pace from the GT4 and LMP3 at different points in the corner as well, especially on the brakes and on the way into corners. Slow speed corners particularly. These GT4s actually are a little bit quicker than these LMP3s that rely on more aerodynamic grip than the GT4s do.
Yeah, that is a difference in multi-class racing with the LMP3s and GT4s. It's not the same as like an LMP2 and a GT3. Each of these cars has an advantage somewhere, whether it be the straights or the corners, so they can keep up with each other.
That was the final corner again for this battle for 4th place. It was quite wide for Schwartz there, but he's pulled it back quite well, and he's got a good exit as well onto the front straight. Looking good for him now. More LMP3s coming to the pit lane. Still waiting for the top 5 to come in. Wayne Castile is looking pretty good right now for a race win as Floyd Kerr and Joey Haynes come in absolutely together.
Nice job down pit road there.
They're pulling into the box together, and we'll see pit stop times there and see what's going on, but You can't imagine the difference is going to be much. 7.9 for Kerr, and it's a little bit longer for Joey Haynes, so Floyd Kerr will get out in front again.
Now, something we talked about during the first race, we not really had time to hit on here in this race, Ewan, is, pit road skills, getting on road, off the pit road, how you get in your box. Those are things that can make up time for you here. And they're going to merge out right in front of this GT4 here.
Here's an example. Well, the GT4 is going to get out ahead of Joey Haynes, is it? Not quite. If they were a bit more committed, then maybe they could have done, but decided that it really wasn't a good idea to have an LMP3 right behind you for so long. Into the pit lane comes Wayne Castile from the front of this race. Qualified third. He's found his way to the front. Now he's fighting off Andrew Harmon for a race win here in the LMP3 GT4 challenge. Let's see if he comes out in front of his rival with this pit stop that probably is not going to take any longer than 5 seconds, or not much longer than 5 seconds anyway. It will be 6.7 for Wayne Castile, and he will be rolling down pit lane already, and he should be in the lead of this race.
Yeah, he definitely, I think, would be. Now, this will cause that leaderboard to change a little bit here. Some familiar names will start to come back to the top of the LMP3 boards that maybe were waiting for that pit cycle to finish. So Ozzy Millwain back to 4th place is something I think that is not surprising.
Really not too much damage to repair in that case for Ozzy Millwain. He was in the wall earlier, but has still found himself in 4th place, and it's going to redeem some of the losses from Watkins Glen, where he didn't end up finishing that race. We should finish this one, and should finish it inside the top 5 as well, but nobody's had a better start to the season than Wayne Castile. It's the only driver to be on the podium twice. He's going to win 2 races out of 2 as well, by the looks of things, as we look at a replay of a feisty battle in towards turn 6.
That was Ryan Kerr there, and there's an oval saying, a NASCAR saying we have, Ewan, that 8 tires are better than a 4, and I think that's what you just saw in play right there.
Certainly close towards turn 6. It's been another incident, I'm afraid, around the racetrack. Tell you what it is. Here we go again towards the final sector of the racetrack.
Oh, that was right after that battle we just saw in the replay a second ago with the side-by-side racing. I think he just got on the brakes a little too hard to avoid the contact, and I think maybe got up on the curbing at the same time and spun himself around. He's elected to go ahead and tow it back to pit road and not be in the way of traffic. A responsible thing. Not a great thing for points racing, but a responsible thing done by that driver.
Yeah, very responsible, and the right decision as well, to be honest, or to be fair. For 7th place between Vincent Generou and Jake Haskell is very much going on. These two are going to fall as plenty of times throughout the season. They're not part of the same team, but they're coloured in a very similar way. With the all blue nose, Jake Haskell in the American flag just on top, and Vincent Generou doesn't have either of those things. Up through the end of the first sector, through turn 5, and Haskell is going to look to get through before he runs out of time here, really. Only 4.5 minutes remaining as Generou finds himself down the inside and towards turn 6 on one of these lap cars. It's not quite happened for him, and Haskell gets even closer.
Now they're going to be side by side here. I think Haskell has made great use, of that moving chicane, if you will, and did a great job. But that was almost horrible for all 4 of those cars.
It was good driving from Haskell, though. Not only getting down the inside from Generou there, but also dispatching a Parker Muirhead. That was very close in towards the end of the lap. One of the Mercedes.
That's just a sign of tires wearing out, is what that is doing. That's just a sign of, we're, what are we now, 47 minutes in. 37 minutes in. And tires are wearing out. You don't have the same grip you had at the start of this race, and it's harder and harder to turn that car and avoid those tire barriers. I bet if we could see his onboard, that wheel was cranked all the way to the right trying to avoid that incident right there.
Yeah, a little bit too late on the brakes. Plenty of incidents, by the way, that we've just not been able to get through here this evening. It's just too much going on for one race, to be quite honest. And there's been plenty up and down the field so far, and there might be time for a little bit more as well. 3 minutes remaining for Wayne Castile now. I think he's in the background of that shot there, unless that's one of his teammates. This is the battle for 12 between Aaron Create and William Brennan in the GT4 category. Another all Mercedes battle. It is indeed the Mercedes just behind them, so we might well get 3 more laps out of this race.
Yeah, very well. So of course next week we have the week off, and in 2 weeks now we go to Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Are you expecting a calmer race than what we're seeing tonight?
Well, a little bit, but I was expecting a lot more of a calm race at Watkins Glen, to be honest, and we really didn't get that. And we know that Mosport is not that wide in terms of its circuit width, so that's going to be another big challenge for these two categories to once again deal with each other, as they're going to start to learn how to do, but certainly not going to be all the way sorted out in 2 weeks' time.
It's a very interesting schedule these cars are on. A lot of tight battles, a lot of maybe not until we get to the Nürburgring that I saw on the schedule. Maybe that's the first time you have a big track where these guys can space out and race one-on-one versus this herd mentality.
So Miguel Ruiz is just in front of us right now. He's second in GT4 and looks like he's heading his way towards a podium right now. And Wagner, you get 2 podiums out of 2, and he's going to be the only driver to do so, with Justin Rehm down in 6th position at the moment. Ozzy Milwain has got an opportunity for another pass here, because Floyd Kerr has had problems now. Or is it Kerr? No, it's Milwain challenging Kerr. I think it might just be a pace thing at the moment that Milwain has been able to catch up as a result. There's a lot of traffic in front of them, though. Not all of it is in a different class either. Some of it LMP3 traffic. Floyd Kerr dives down the inside towards turn 1. He'll put a lap car between himself and Milwain in towards the fountain section. That was very well done.
That was well done, and I think Milwain backed out originally and let Kerr get the run because he was scared of the traffic, and well, that's why. Oh man.
Wow. Great driving from Floyd Kerr. See how efficiently he got through those 2 bits of traffic, and how Ozzy Milwain got caught up behind it. And Kerr might have just sealed 4th place with that very move there.
You know, Ewan, as you know, commentators, we often participate in our own iRacing events and stuff outside of our commentary. And sometimes you watch a race, you man, I want to be in that race. I want to be there. That looks like a blast. You watch the traffic here tonight, and I'm glad I'm up here.
Yeah, we're not jealous of these guys having to deal with chaos at Long Beach. Whose idea was it to put it in the 2nd week of a new schedule, by the way, for official iRacing LMP3 competition? Don't know.
Community votes.
Well, they like chaos, clearly, whoever did it. This is a battle for 10th place. Bradley Holly with a lot of wins in the PRL, not necessarily in this series, but across the board. He has most all-time Cup Series wins, doesn't he? Individual race wins or individual championships? I don't know.
I believe so, yeah. And to go with it, an amazing hairdo in that photo we saw during the grid photos.
Yes, there is a good photo of it. Yeah, that was a not 100% fact, but that's somewhere in my memory somewhere. Final lap is out there on the circuit then. Time has elapsed, and the Alpha 2nd place might not be over just yet. Into the final corners comes Andrew Harman and Walker Caton, with Caton having the chance for 2nd place. He might well settle for a podium though, because there's not many opportunities to go through from here, even with the GT4 right in front of them right now. Checkered flag will be out just in front of them, as Wayne Castile will seal another victory. It's back-to-back victories in LMP3 for him, just in front of Conor Wagner, who will take back-to-back victories in GT4 as well, with Andrew Hardman hanging on to 2nd place overall just about, with the teammates Joey Haynes and Ozzy Milwain exchanging positions right at the end. It's Joey Haynes who's gotten in front of Milwain on the last lap. Place still
another battle here. It's be P10, I believe, in classes are going to come around here.
Yeah, still being battled over. Mariano Barrios is the driver trying to make the move here, but as we've seen in the other battles, it might be too little too late for changes here. You'd be surprised if there was going to be a dive at the end of all this. David
He
Juno
tried.
just
I think he tried, but it doesn't work. I think you saw him get really tight on the inside there.
Oh, Ryan Kerr might be out of fuel there. Well, what's going on here? Because Justin Rehm has gotten through on Ryan Kerr. who I think is getting pushed to the line.
By a teammate, I'm pretty sure, right? Actually, I can't see behind it. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely a teammate.
There's a big battle towards the line. The final battle over the line for Jared Deploy and Carl Bishop by the looks of things. And they will stay in the positions they were, with Bishop behind Deploy. Could be teammates as well, actually, in those Porsches you can see there. But there's a bit of camaraderie towards the end. One of the drivers running out of fuel at the very death and having to be pushed over the finish line of the final race in this evening. Long Beach complete for the LMP3 and GT4 challenge here this evening, and it certainly did deliver what we expected in terms of action. Here are the results then, with Wayne Castile just ahead of Andrew Hardman and Walker Caton, who battled to the line. Kurt held off the two evolved cars of Joey Haynes and Ozzy Milwain, with Jake Haskell in 7th, holding off Vincent Generou. David Duno held off Bradley Holly, both of them finishing inside the top 10. Mario Nabarros just missed out. Joshua Chinsky was the final driver on the lead lap, with Joseph Homan and Ethan Tavatas falling off of that. Those that had issues throughout the race include Mark Kellin, Uri Rexroy, Darian Roy, Adam Brockway, Alec Bergstrom and Stephen Hassett, along with other drivers who were tens of laps down. Austin Lawrence, Michael Torofino, Devon Horvath and Nicholas Salaputis making his debut in the series this season. Conor Wagner is in the winning position again. GT4 class victory goes to him. Miguel Ruiz and Jeff Evans join him on the podium, with Nathan Deering and Justin Rem on the top 5 positions. A minute back was Ryan Kerr, with Parky Muirhead, Jared DePrelu and Carl Bishop inside 1 lap. Then Matthew Campbell inside the top 10. Also a lap down was William Brennan and Jeffrey Sebbert. Aaron Creates was ahead of a multiple Mercedes battle with Wayne Grennan, Doug Evans and Will Jennings. 2 laps down was Douglas Curry and Nicholas Schwartz. And then those that had more issues: Travis Chapman and John Dwan, 19th and 20th. Jeff Parsons, Nicholas Johnson, Miles Brown and Alex de Almeida, your 24 GT4s at the end of that race. Well, a fantastic race once again, and another win for Wayne Castile, who we can bring in now. Wayne, welcome in. Good to have you here. The chaos of Long Beach certainly did deliver for us, I think it's fair to say. Was that above or below your expectations in terms of incidents, in terms of intensity, in terms of concentration that you needed to keep up throughout that race? Wayne?
Sorry, I forgot I had hit the button.
Go on, go ahead.
No, so Long Beach was it was something, man. It went a lot better than I expected. I thought for sure I didn't have any pace here, and I thought, I'd be happy just to survive the race. But traffic was, very, very good for me. Not really any incidents, a couple that I had to avoid here and there, but I mean, I think it went a lot better than a lot of people expected.
I think so as well, especially down towards the end as well. And we've been speaking a lot about the schedule this season in terms of tracks to look out for. I've got to say, Watkins Glen wasn't on my list of tracks to look out for, but it certainly did provide incidents last week, as we've spoken about at length. But in terms of the schedule for the whole season, how do you view it now that you've seen these opening 2 rounds? Are you sort of fearing some of the tracks coming up? Are you looking forward to somewhere there'll be a bit of respite, or are you looking to sort of go into each race with the same mentality with regards to traffic?
I mean, a lot of the upcoming tracks are not as savage, as I'd like to say, as Long Beach. So I think, as everybody keeps racing with each other, everybody's going to get a little bit more comfortable. Everybody's going to kind of know what to expect from each other. I think it's going to get better. So we got a couple great tracks coming up. Most looking forward to Mosport. So that's going to be probably one of my stronger tracks. And of course, I'm a big fan of Road America, but I got to wait a while for that, sadly. So, but I think we'll be in pretty good shape for the rest of the season. I think everybody's getting comfortable with each other finally.
I think so. I think, by the way, Road America coming either late July or into August, maybe. We do have to wait a little bit of time until we get there. But Wayne, congratulations on going 2 for 2 so far in this season, and thanks very much for coming to chat to us.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. Real quick, I got to shout out my sponsors, Muradness, for the coaching that they provide me. Obviously, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I'm at today without Muradness, Oceana Coffee, and Ginger Livery. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Wayne Castile. Victorious at Long Beach here in the LMP3 category, just ahead of Andrew Hardman, who joins us now as well. Andrew, welcome in. Good to have you here as well. On the podium here at Long Beach this evening. In the end, Wayne getting through on you and getting away from you as well towards the midpoint of that race. Do you feel like there was anything you could have done to hold him back today?
You know what? I think he just did a better job overall than I did today. I wasn't as good with handling the traffic, and then just wasn't able to maximize my pace when I had a free track. So all kudos to him for an excellent race driven, and I'm really happy to be P2, but certainly need to work on some stuff to get to P1 and beat Wayne. He's incredible.
Absolutely, it's 2 out of 2 for him, and it's 2 top 10s for you now as well in the opening point of this season. I know we got a week off next week, so it kind of feels like we've already got a bit of a time to look back at a little bit of what we've just seen. In terms of what you were expecting from this season, the first 2 weeks, the LMP3 and GT4 multi-class challenge that we have here in the PRL this season, how has it been different to your expectations, if at all, so far over the course of the first 2 rounds?
That's a good question. I think that I expected it to be difficult with the sort of the relative pace of the GT4s versus the LMP3s, and especially with a track like Long Beach that can pose even more of a set of challenges. I think that the racing has been tight. It's been good with this new car. I think it's a raceable car for sure. It's not sort of like this run on your own prototype that it could have been. So I really appreciate that iRacing's done a good job with making it raceable. But yeah, I'm happy with my performance tonight. Not happy with my performance on I guess last week, but looking forward to the season ahead of us.
Absolutely, still a long way to go. Andrew, congratulations on P2 tonight, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Cheers. Have a good night.
Thanks very much. Andrew Hardman there, second place in LMP3. Let's go to the GT4s now, shall we, with Conor Wagner, who joins us now. Race winner at Long Beach. Conor, congratulations. It seemed to come down to the start a lot in that race. Tell us a little bit about the start as GT4 driver, because the LMP3's got themselves into a bit of a mess in towards turn 1, and then you ended up, along with everyone else, sort of seeing that firsthand.
Yeah, it was a crazy one. We were supposed to maintain, a specific gap to them so that we didn't get caught too quickly and be lapped, that type of thing. And it was definitely a challenge to get the pacing right with the hairpin. But then, of course, that also, like, having a small gap like that between the 2 fields meant that we had to be really careful with the crashing. And unfortunately, there was definitely some P3s that got into the wall, which made it kind of scary, but it looked like most of us filtered through okay. So I couldn't see farther back than like P6 though. But yeah, it was an interesting start for sure. Long Beach is always fun like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised it was even on the schedule in the first place. I know we're mirroring iRacing things and whatever, but anyway, surprised that it was even here. But it provided good racing in the end. You were quite a long way away from it, and you're the only driver to be on the podium twice so far this season as well, after being runner-up at Watkins Glen last week as well. What is the aim for the season overall? Is it, I guess, going for the championship this season?
Yeah, of course. Definitely like individual championship, but then I think it'd mean a lot for me to also get the team championship. I don't know if we've ever won one as Delta Sport, and I'm running it with 2 of my good buddies, which I think will be a lot of fun. We've been putting in a lot of practice time, which it's a new car for me and them too. So we've been working on setups, working on telemetry, that type of thing. So we're hoping that we can all get some really good results for the rest of the season and bring home some good, consistent points and hopefully win some trophies along the way.
Hopefully. So congratulations on the win tonight, Conor, and thanks for chatting to us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, Conor Wagner there, winner at Long Beach, just ahead of Miguel Ruiz, who joins us now. Miguel, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Second place here today at Long Beach. Just tell us a little bit about that race from your perspective. Are you happy with your drive today?
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I started in P7, I believe, and there was some traffic going into that hairpin at the end, I believe, on the race start, and I lost P6 also, which was interesting. It was definitely an interesting start, but Connor Wagner, man, he was so fast. I was catching him for a little bit. I think we had an 8-second gap, dropped down to 6, and then I pitted, and I lost him to like 13 seconds. Yeah, it was a tough race. I spent a few days putting some laps in, and this is my first time here, and I feel like it was a good race for myself overall.
Absolutely, it's been a good start to the season for you as well, with 2 top 10s. What is the aim for this season, though? What are you trying to achieve?
Just like with everyone else, I'm here to win. I'll settle with any podium, but I'm going to try my hardest to put the fastest lap down and try to fight with Wagner.
Absolutely. Congratulations on second place today, Miguel, and thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Miguel Ruiz, second place in GT4 at Long Beach here today. Well, that's just about going to do it for our LMP3-GT4 challenge here at Long Beach this evening. Next week, we will be heading out to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park at Mosport, if you like. 8:30 ET for the broadcast. 10th of July, we've got a week off, let's not forget, for the July 4th celebrations. In America anyway. So we will be back the week after that on the 10th of July. 8:30 ET here on RaceSpotTV. So make sure you join us for that. Make sure you stick around as well for all the other Precision Racing League action that goes on during the weeks. Tomorrow night it's GT3 racing, with the fixed and the open series running back to back with Arjuna and Joey. So make sure you join us in for that broadcast. But for now, that'll be us signing off for the evening. It's been 2 fantastic races on the west coast of the United States of America in the GR86 series and the LMP3 GT4 challenge as well. After 1 week off, we'll be heading back round to the circuit once again here on Monday night. Very much hope you'll join us for that. A big thanks to everybody who's been tuned in tonight as well, but we'll bid our farewells for now. I've been Neil O'Leary alongside Derek Watson, with Dustin Nollis calling the shots from behind the scenes as well. And until we see you in 2 weeks' time, it's goodbye for now.